What is up, everybody? Welcome to Stat Diggers. Welcome to Pub Sports Radio. We have a UFC Vegas 58 deep dive. We're going to take a deep look into all 12 of these fights. And, how can you not be excited about Jamie Pickett going against Denis, Tiuliulin? You got Jared Vanderaa, Chase Sherman. Just some really good fights this week. The main event, Rafael Dos Anjos going against Rafael Fiziev should be very fun. Definitely looking forward to it as always. And as always, I am here with our Uncle Weezy. Uncle Weezy, what is up? You looking forward to the card?
Yeah, there's some great fights on this card. And then there's some not great fights on this card, but that's all right. There's going to be some spots sticking out here. And there are some really compelling fights, especially at the beginning of this card. The very first fight that we'll be talking about tonight is two really, really good prospects here with serious, well-rounded games. And it just gets a little bit better from there as we go on. So looking forward to chopping it up with you guys today.
100%. As always, we're going to quickly recap last night. And yeah, a lot of people were crapping on the card. I actually enjoyed the card. And I was sober even. I thought the card was pretty solid. I will say, I don't think it lived up to the expectations, like on paper, like that was the card of the year. I don't think it was card of the year, nothing like that. But I did thoroughly enjoy it. I do feel bad for my brother, though. My brother is the second biggest Sean O'Malley fan. And I say second because I saw some guy at the fights. He had like the blonde, no, not the blonde, like the pink hair with the face tattoos. I think that guy's Sean's number one fan. But my brother was talking about O'Malley all week, talking him up, and then that happened. So that sucked. But other than that, I thought the event was good. And this was a light card for me. I thought the card on paper was phenomenal, but to be honest, not a ton of spots were sticking out. I only had two bets. So it was one of my least exposed cards of the year. And for a very good reason, like not a ton of spots stuck out to me. The first bet of the night was an L. Brad Tavares, Dricus du Plessis fight doesn't go to decision, plus 105, 1 unit. I would bet that, all day, every day. That was Dricus's first decision win, very first decision in general. I'm not sure how that fight did not finish. Brad Tavares showed a ton of toughness there, but started out the night with an L, bounced back with a win. Brad Riddell, Jalen Turner fight doesn't go to decision, 1.5 units, minus 150. That was pretty sweat-free. Jalen Turner's a savage. I cannot wait to see him back, hopefully soon. This guy is no joke. Finishing Brad Riddell like that in less than a minute it was crazy. But you cashed that with ease. And then I had a quarter unit stab on Sean Strickland by submission plus 1,100. I thought that if he did go for takedowns, did get the fight down to the mat, that submission would be live. Didn't even get close. Didn't even try to attempt any takedowns. So a quarter unit loss there. And then finished the night with a over 2.5 in the co-main event. Volkanovski, Max Holloway. First two fights went the full 5 rounds. I thought this one would as well. Max Holloway, very tough. I think it's like 2,000 strikes he's absorbed at this point. Never went down. Although Volkanovski just 50-45 to Max was able to hang on and went to decision there. So that cashed and then closed it out with Israel Adesanya to win outright. Not the most exciting fight in the world, but Adesanya, I think it was like a 50-45 on one scorecard and then 49-46 on the other two. I did have it 49-46 myself and could even argue like a 48-47. It was a close-ish main event, but up 0.63 units on the night. So pretty happy about it, I guess. Feel like that Dricus fight probably should have been finished, but somehow it didn't. But winning night nonetheless. Looking forward to this next week as well. Weezy, how'd your night go last night?
Yeah, I mean, I did so much better than you, Brady. You were up 0.63 units. I was up 0.74 units. So I absolutely dusted you last night. But it was, dude, my ass shaving of the week pick fell flat on its face for the second week in a row. 2 weeks ago, I supported some bad hair in TJ Brown. And this week, I supported some really pathetic fight IQ in Sean Strickland. 0 takedown attempts and 1 loss are the two big stats from that fight. And, that was rough because that was the if my greasy four-legger would have cashed had Strickland come through and fought a little bit smarter and fought a better game plan. But I'll tell you, walking him down was working. It was the second he stopped walking forward that the lights got shut out. And, when you let that dude Pereira plant both of his feet and sit down on that left hook, it's going to be all over for you. So, yeah, Sean Strickland was a really bad ass-shaving pick. But, I also lost money on the Dricus du Plessis fight doesn't go to decision. I'm not exactly sure how I lost it, but I did. Cashed a good bet on Jalen Turner as well. 1.5 units at minus 125. So that was good. And, and I think that Jalen Turner, now that he beat Riddell, who had a number next to his name, we're going to see Turner in that top 15. And I was joking around last night on Pub Sports Radio that I think Jalen Turner might be retired now, because I think that nobody's going to pick up the phone when they when people call to fight that dude, because he's just a problem. You know, it's one of those things. It's you can face a good wrestler and work on your takedown defense. You can face a good grappler, work on your submission defense. You can face a good striker and work on your clinch game and work on getting them down to the ground so they're not comfortable. But, you know, how do you grow 6 inches, you know, in a fight camp? How do you give up 7 inches of arm reach and figure out how to close that distance without running into a giant knee? You know, how do you try to take down somebody that's 6'3" when you're 5'9" and they've got these long limbs and can get submissions from angles other people can't? I'm thinking that Jalen Turner might be making a title run in the 155-pound division because of these gifts that he has that you can't teach, and then you combine it with the skill set that he's showing in the octagon. The man is absolutely terrifying. I really wish I had made him my ass shaving of the week. It would have been a much better week for me. And let's see, I cashed the probability parlay, kind of cashed, Brady. We had a 3-leg parlay. It was Barber fight goes to decision. It was Holloway Volk fight starts round 4. And then it was O'Malley's fight to start round 3. And we missed that by like a minute because of the eye poke. Yeah. So it turned a plus 208 parlay into like a minus 150 2-leg parlay. So that cost me almost 2 units. Damn it, man. I mean, I wound up of like 3/4 of a unit, but it just felt like it could have been so much more. But this is a great card. And I've already taped a couple of these fights, and there's some good spots sticking out and some really good fights. So yeah, it's going to be a good show today. I'm looking forward to it and looking forward to hanging out with the chat here on Pub Sports and talking about this great card.
100%. Yeah, the card's solid there. Like you said, a couple of fights where you're like, what's going on? What is going on? Like, why are we have to do this? But yeah, there's great fights on this card, and I'm with you. A lot of spots sticking out, more so from like a money line standpoint for me this week. Couple money lines standing out. Not a ton of props thus far, but maybe after we talk through it, something will stick out. Let us shout out the chat before we get started. As always, guys, if you guys can please hit the like button. You guys killed it last week with the likes. We do appreciate that quite a bit. And also, of course, sub to Pub Sports Radio if you have not already. Let's keep the channel growing. Mark Schillingberg, first one in the chat. What is up, Mark? We got John in the chat as well. Goots hanging out. Josh Locks. We got Chris Calanza. What is up, Chris? We got Victor in the chat. Brandon hanging out as always. Effie Annie X. Any Action Sportscast. There we go. Mushroom hanging out with us. We got Tim, who, by the way, Tim absolutely killed it last night. Shout out to Tim with those Lambo plays. We have Sean V in the chat. What is up, Sean? PSSA 31. Brysky. We have Ultimate Pick Prem Tro. We have Tajik Bay the Goat. What is up, Tajik Bay the Goat? Another guy that was just posting and cashing tickets all night last night. Shout out to Tajik. Crazy hits there. We got Troy in the chat as well. We have Charles in the chat. Dan Goldstein, nice to see Dan in here tonight. We have Kruko in the chat. Ugo Will. Oh, what is up, Ugo Will? Let's see what else we got in here. We have Ariel Hilwani. And we have some donos. We have donos. We'll start with WizBets. What is up, WizBets, with the $4.99. Thanks for all the hard work, gentlemen. You guys are the best. Much love. And by the way, go sub to WizBets. He is doing an exclusive Askar Mozarov interview he's been talking about, and he's going to drop it on his YouTube channel. So I cannot wait to see that. I'm jealous. I want to talk to Askar Mozarov and ask him some questions, but that's going to be awesome. So subscribe to WizBets. And of course, we have the GOAT of the MMA community. Thanks for all the hard work you do week after week. Sincerely, the GOAT. Appreciate that, GOAT, a ton. We have another dono, Pradum. How do you pronounce that, Weezy?
Praduman Singh.
Praduman Singh. There you go.
India, stand up. Let's go.
Let's go. He's saying, thank you, Uncle Weezy and Brady. Had a great night yesterday with 28 units profit. There you go. You guys are the real OGs. Appreciate that a ton. Does mean a ton. Do like seeing people winning money. That is awesome. See if I missed anything. Mel in the chat as well. We got Preston in the chat. What is up, guys? All right, guys, let's get started with the first fight of the night. And it's weird. Like the first fight, I don't know why they do this sometimes. The first fight of the night is probably one of the best fights on the entire card. We have Ronnie Lawrence going against Sayudyaka Kocharmonov. We have Ronnie Lawrence, 30 years old, 5'8", with a 68-inch reach. Kocharmonov, 26 years old, 5'7", with a 69.5-inch reach. Kocharmonov, 4 years younger. Ronnie Lawrence with a 1-inch height advantage, and Kocharmonov with a 1.5-inch reach advantage. We'll take a look at the last couple fights. Ronnie Lawrence did make his debut against Vince Cachero, won that fight by a third-round knockout. Prior to that, did have a decision victory on the Contender Series, and then had a really exciting fight against Mana Martinez, which there was a combined 5 knockdowns in that fight. 3 come from Ronnie Lawrence. I think he had 1 of the first, 2 in the second, and then Mana Martinez had 2 knockdowns in that third round. One of the most exciting fights on that card. And then Kocharmonov, he is 4-1 in his last 5 fights, made his debut against Trevin Jones on short notice and went out there and he looked really good. He got that third round submission. This fight is so good. Both of these guys I'm very high on. I mean, how can you not be high on a guy in Ronnie Lawrence who's putting up video game numbers? I mean, from a DraftKings guy, like seeing him land 9.15 takedowns per 15 minutes, it just seems like Uncle Weezy made a mistake just putting it in. But no, those are real numbers. In 3 fights, he's landing 9.15 takedowns per 15 minutes. And on top of that, he has the cardio to do it. He can go 15 minutes, no problem. And on top of that, he's well-rounded. His striking is good as well. He can throw volume. He can throw with power as well. He's very good on the feet. So a very well-rounded guy in Ronnie Lawrence going against Kocharmonov, who's very well-rounded in himself. He went out there, and his only loss, he has 2 losses. One comes against Vargas, which was in the third round in a fight where he did slow down as the fight went on and got knocked out with a flying knee. The other loss was against Umar Nurmagomedov, and that fight was very competitive. That was probably Umar's most competitive fight, and Kocharmonov was only 22 years old at the time. So went back and saw that fight, some other fights, and he's really impressing me at like 21, 22 years old, and he's still only 26 years old. He's well-rounded. He's good wrestling in his own right offensively, good takedown defense, good grappling as well, and a ton of power. Like, he was hurting Trevin Jones with every shot that was landing in that fight, ultimately ended up submitting him. This fight is so good, Weezy. I like both these guys so much. I cannot wait to hear what you had to say about this one.
Yeah, I mean, I'm so impressed with both of these guys, and it just goes to show how ridiculously stacked the bantamweight division is, that these guys are like, neither one of these guys is even like top 30, and they would kick so many people's asses, like in any other weight. I mean, you can move them up to 145 and they'd be winning up there, I think, a lot of these guys. Kocharmonov, very young, only 26 years old. We got a reach advantage for Kocharmonov, a little bit of height for Lawrence. These guys are both big bantamweights. And when we look at the experience numbers, a couple more fights for Kocharmonov, about 10 more minutes in the cage, but about a year and a half more as a pro for Ronnie Lawrence. Ronnie Lawrence, 2 more UFC level fights, about 30 more minutes in the UFC cage. 50% finish rate for Lawrence, 77% finish rate for Kocharmonov. And Lawrence has never been stopped. Kocharmonov has been finished by knockout in one of his 2 losses. It was against Pike Vargas from a flying knee. He was winning that fight, he was taking him down over and over again. Just that Vargas landed that knee, and then that it absolutely separated him from his consciousness. Very vicious knockout there. Both of these guys are putting up ridiculously good numbers in the striking. If you look at Kocharmonov, he lands 2.46, and he only absorbs 0.82. And it just so happens that 0.82 times 3 is exactly 2.46. It's exactly a 3 strikes per minute he lands for every one that his opponents land. A 3-to-1 ratio, fantastic. And he's doubling the output of his opponents as well, while Ronnie Lawrence more than doubles the amount of significant strikes that his opponents land per minute, and he's throwing 6.12 while his opponents are only throwing 3.66. Both these guys pretty accurate. Ronnie Lawrence, 3 knockdowns in only 42 minutes of cage time and 3 fights, while Kocharmonov's never landed a knockdown and never been knocked down. Sayudyaka with the better striking defense at this point at 61% to 55% for Lawrence. And Lawrence has been knocked down twice in his 3 fights, but like we say, it was both in the third round against Mana Martinez, and he had already knocked Mana down 3 times in that fight. What a great fight that was, by the way. If you just enjoy MMA, go tape these guys first, because you're going to really enjoy the fights. And the thing about Kocharmonov is He's trying to take your head off with every single punch that he throws. It's with really, really bad intentions. So Ronnie is really good at, when his opponents start trying to throw with bad intentions, changing his level and putting them on their back. And when we talk about these grappling stats, it looks like I'm making this up. It looks like, just somebody's getting their ass whooped in Street Fighter here, but these are real numbers, 26 takedowns in 33 attempts in only 3 fights, dude. I mean, this guy's probably got more takedowns than 2/3 of the bantamweight division, and he's got 3 fights. It's crazy, dude. It's 79% takedown accuracy, 61% control time for, less than 5% control time against. That's approximately a 13-to-1 ratio of control time for to control time against for Ronnie Lawrence. A master of not only getting fights to the floor, but winning minutes once they're there, and having that most terrifying third quality to put with the first 2, the conditioning to push the pace for the full 15 minutes. And then you look at Kocharmonov, he got held up against the cage by Trevin Jones quite a bit there, giving up 61% control time, only managing 7.62. Very, very effective with the submission attempts, though, attempting 4.1 submission attempts for 15 minutes. So, but Ronnie Lawrence is attempting or getting 9.15 takedowns per 15 minutes. So, look, it's hard to picture this fight going any way but 2 ways. Ronnie Lawrence decision, Said Kocharmonov finish, because Said just throws with serious power. But Ronnie Lawrence has been a master of winning minutes so far, and he could get a finish. If he exhausts Said with a grappling heavy game plan for the whole fight, then we could see him get a 3rd round finish like he did against Vince Cachero. But neither one of these guys has fought the best competition thus far at the UFC level. I'd say Trevin Jones is a notch above Cachero and Martinez, though, for Kocharmonov. And in addition, Kocharmonov's got a fight against Umar Nurmagomedov. Ronnie Lawrence's only loss, I believe, is to a UFC fighter, but I have to look at that right now. Who did he lose to?
It's on the top. It's on the tip of my tongue. He lost to Steve Garcia.
The guy who got smoked by Mahashate. Yeah. But Garcia's got power. Garcia's got really good power. It's just, he wasn't as good of a boxer as Mahashate. Mahashate caught him first. But yeah, this is this is a really, really high level fight here. I've got to lean Lawrence because of the 3 qualities. I'll repeat them again. The ability to be able to get the fight to the ground, the ability to be able to hold your opponent there and win minutes there, and the ability to have to push that pace by having the conditioning to be able to do it for the full 15 minutes. That's something we don't see out of a lot of fighters, and we usually have to pay a premium for it. And we have seen Said Yoqub get trapped on his back before. So if he's gonna allow Lawrence to do that to him, I have to be leaning Lawrence here. But we always got to watch Ronnie Lawrence on the scales, Brady. The guy has a very hard time making weight. He is a huge bantamweight.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, this is a close fight, man. I think both guys are very well rounded. I do lean slightly to Ronnie Lawrence here for the things you mentioned. I think the cardio is huge here. Ronnie Lawrence is never going to slow down, no matter how many takedowns he attempts. Whereas we have seen Kocharmonov slow down a couple times, especially in that one fight we mentioned with the Vargas fight. And in that fight, there was a lot of grappling exchanges, a lot of scrambles as well. And I feel like that could very well be the case here. So, what does his conditioning look like down the stretch? Whereas with Lawrence, I don't think that's going to be a problem. And on top of that, I feel like Lawrence can get takedowns here. I don't think he's going to go out there and land takedowns at a 78% clip in this fight. I think Kocharmonov's takedown defense is very good, but he can be taken down. He can be held against the cage. Trevin Jones took him down. I know it's Umar Nurmagomedov, but Nurmagomedov took him down a couple times. He got taken down in a couple other fights as well. So he can't be taken down. I feel like Ronnie Lawrence pushes a pace here that Kocharmonov is not going to be able to keep up with. But like you said, Kocharmonov, he's dangerous. He hits very hard. And Ronnie Lawrence was dropped twice in his last fight against Mana Martinez. So this is a very close one, but I do lean with the minute-winning ability of Ronnie Lawrence, and I do lean towards Ronnie Lawrence by decision, but I'm definitely not counting out Kocharmonov. This is a very high-level fight to start off the card. We see that Ronnie Lawrence opened up as a -160 favorite, currently -121. Kocharmonov opened up +140. He's currently +101. I think where it's at now is about right. I was a slight favorite. Ronnie Lawrence makes a little sense to me. The over-under set at 2.5 rounds. The over 2.5 -185. Under 2.5 +155. The fight goes to decision -155. The fight doesn't go to decision +115. Kocharmonov inside the distance +230. Ronnie Lawrence by decision +155. Weezy, anything sticking out here from a money line standpoint, a prop standpoint? What do you like in here?
Yeah, I mean, I would like the decision-only prop for Ronnie Lawrence, and I would like the finish-only prop for Said Kocharmonov, because that's just the way I see this fight going. I feel like Lawrence will be winning the fight up until he doesn't win it if Said Yakub lands one of those big bombs, and he throws with such power. But, Ronnie Lawrence brings a different type of pressure and pace, and when he's getting those takedowns at almost a 79% clip, that's just a number you don't see. It's not sustainable, but it's usually a number that you start seeing going down when somebody has 10 takedown attempts, 11, not 33 of them. I mean, like that's a really big sample size of takedown attempts to have that kind of accuracy on. So I really do think that decision-only prop for Lawrence is a good look. The finish-only prop for Kocharmonov is a good look. And it's a way to avoid the time props because you'll probably overpay for them.
Yeah, and even like Kocharmonov inside the distance could be something to look at. And I know Mushroom likes that third-round decision for Ronnie Lawrence, because I could see the third round as well. So third-round decision for Ronnie Lawrence. I think there's a couple different ways to play this fight depending who you are on. But yeah, I think the finish-only, decision-only are definitely things to look at. Let us move on to the next fight. We have Kennedy and Nzechukwu going against Carl Roberson. We have Nzechukwu, 30 years old, 6'5", with a 83-inch reach. Carl Roberson, 31 years old, 6'1", with a 74-inch reach. Nzechukwu, massive tail to tape advantage, and this is going to be the case in pretty much every single one of his fights. Nzechukwu, 1 year younger. Nzechukwu with a 4-inch height advantage and a 9-inch reach advantage. My goodness. Nzechukwu is 3-2 in his last 5 fights. Decision win against Darko Stosic, a knockout win against Carlos Olberg, a knockout win against Danilo Marquez, a knockout loss against Da Un Jung, and then a decision loss against Nikolai Negumereanu. Didn't he win that fight or no? Or did?
No, Negumereanu won that fight, dude. Yeah.
Oh, yeah, because of the eye pokes, right? He lost the point.
Yeah, he lost a point, and I could have sworn that was going to be a draw, and you called the draw. I bet the draw. And I thought, dude, I was going to do such a victory dance on Twitter, and it got stolen from me. But yeah, I mean, he actually did lose that fight. I thought he won it, though. I thought that was the best Kennedy has ever looked.
Exactly. I thought you could have made a case like he won like all 3 rounds. I guess you can give the first to Nikolai, but second was Kennedy, third was Kennedy. And then the eye poke. Yeah, it was a clear draw, right? It was a clear draw. It made no sense. That draw should have hit. But yeah, I agree. That was the best Kennedy we've ever seen. He actually came forward early on. He actually, did stuff early on. Usually he's kind of a slow starter. So maybe he can bring that into this fight here. Carl Roberson, 2-3 in his last 5 fights. Decision win against Wellington Turman. Submission win against Roman Kopylov. A submission loss against Marvin Vettori, Brendan Allen, and then a knockout loss against Khalil Roundtree. First look, I thought I might like Carl Roberson here, but I don't think so. I mean, this is a fight where Carl Roberson, it's kind of weird. Like, this guy's a kickboxing background, but when he's winning fights, when he's having success in the grappling. He went out there, he submitted Roman Kopylov after hurting him on the feet. Before that, he went out there and was winning grappling exchanges against Wellington Turman. I believe there was a fight, I think it was against Darren Stewart. He was going out there and taking him down multiple times. When he's having success, it's in the grappling, and I just don't think that's going to be on the table here against Kennedy. Kennedy, very, very good takedown defense, a very good get-up game. I think this fight is going to play outstanding, and if it does, although I think Carl Roberson is the much more talented fighter, I think he has a lot more skill than Kennedy. Kennedy, the case with him, he's still green. We've been saying he's green for like 4 years. I think we're going to continue to say he's green, but this guy is just 4-inch height advantage, 9-inch reach advantage, in a fight that's going to play out in the feet. Carl Roberson, probably the more power here, but he just so low volume. Like, he's attempting 5.5 significant strikes per minute, whereas Kennedy's over double that. So I feel like the 9-inch reach advantage is going to play a factor. I feel like the volume is going to play a factor, and I feel like Kennedy wins this fight. So give me Kennedy here. Not a ton of confidence. I'm not sold on the guy whatsoever. I don't think he's amazing, but what I do think is amazing is that 9-inch reach advantage and that height advantage as well. So give me Kennedy. I think the output's going to be a factor here in that size as well. Weezy, how do you feel about this one here?
Yeah, these Kennedy and Nzechukwu fights are so hard to break down because the way I kind of, when I first watched him today, I was like, holy shit, he's like the light heavyweight version of Jalen Turner in that. And let me just don't get out the pitchforks and torches just yet. He's got those physical gifts. He's got those physical gifts that you can't teach. An 83-inch reach, I mean, that is something that is really, really, really difficult to deal with. No matter who you are, no matter how skilled you are, you can't teach that. And it gives you a cheat code. It gives you an ability to do things that your opponents can't do. In addition to that, Kennedy has excellent conditioning. And he's shown some good durability outside of that Da Un-Jung fight as well. But he's confusing. I still don't know what he does well. He's attempted 1 takedown in 8 fights, so he's not trying to grapple people. Even though I remember one of his fights on the regional scene watching tape, and he was actually wrestling. This was very early in his career, though, because we've watched Kennedy and Nzechukwu grow up. Kennedy's got 12 pro fights. 8 of them are at the UFC level. So this guy barely even got started in his mixed martial arts career before he was fighting on the Contender Series. So we've seen the evolution of Kennedy. And there's still some growth here. I mean, light heavyweights can go easily until they're 40, 41, 42. Kennedy's only 30. And, 6'5", 83-inch reach, southpaw, got a brick for a head, and he can go a full 3 rounds and push a pace. So he's got this unique set of skills that's kind of difficult to deal with. But if you're a well-rounded fighter with a game plan, there's really not much that Kennedy's doing offensively. It seems like he's more... You know what I'm saying, Brady, when I see it? Like, he seems to worry almost exclusively about defense. He's got his hands high up in front of him. He's throwing strikes, but, like, he's letting people put him up against the cage. He's letting people shoot takedowns. He's letting people get to his back. And he just seems to be, like, kind of surviving and then making you tired and then putting it on you at the end of the fight. And he's had some success with that game plan, but I don't know if Roberson's the guy to beat him, because I think that Kennedy's not going to try to take down Roberson. And Roberson's a good grappler, like you mentioned. You think of him as this kickboxer with these vicious elbows, that knock with that, serious knockout power. But he's winning more fights via submission than he is via knockout, which is strange. So, but Kennedy's not trying to take this dude down. And Kennedy's got 80% takedown defense in his own right. And despite the fact that his opponents have attempted 50 takedowns on Kennedy in only 8 fights, Kennedy's spending less than 1/5 of his cage time being controlled. And people are desperately trying to control this man because they don't really want to stand in front of him, because if he can maintain range and throw those straight punches like he does, he probably will outpoint you and eventually land something that might put you on skates. So, and then you look at the strength of schedule, and, Roberson's not fighting the good ratio guys, but he's definitely fighting the more experienced competition. Dude, it's a close fight. And I had a bet on Kennedy and Nzechukwu against Da Un-Jung, and I was like, man, I think this guy's gifts are going to take him very far. And then I saw that fight, and I was like, dude, what was he doing in that fight? He did nothing. And it was like the Alberg fight. He did nothing for 3.5 minutes before he threw his first punch. So sometimes I just don't know what this guy's process is. But he's at Fortis MMA. He's got some good coaches over there. He's got a great work ethic from what I hear. And that conditioning shows. I mean, the conditioning is proof of the work ethic. And he's got the physical gifts. I'm just waiting for him to put it all together, dude. I'm waiting for one day, like, Kennedy's going to come out wrestling, dude, and look good doing it. And then people are going to be like, holy shit, this guy's a serious problem. I think if he starts putting it all together, he's going to be a serious problem. But I just don't know if we're ever going to see that day. I know I'm rambling, but he's a very, very unique fighter.
Yeah, I don't know if we'll ever see it, but if we do see, I mean, those physical tools, man. I mean, you do not see guys at this division with a 6'5", 83-inch reach. I mean, it's it's insane. And the cardio as well. Like, he has good attributes. It's just, yeah, what is he really good at? I don't know. And then you got Carl Roberson, who, yes, he has a ton of skill. I think this guy's very skilled. Grappling, kickboxing. It's just the fight IQ is terrible. The volume's terrible. This fight is tough to call, and it's a line at a pick in which I agree with. Like, who wins this fight? I don't know. I really don't know. I like the physical tools of Kennedy. I like the talent, the skill of Roberson, but he doesn't do anything. He doesn't throw anything, and I don't think he's going to take down Kennedy. So, yeah, this is a mess, man. We have Kennedy opened up minus 125. He's currently minus 110. Roberson opened up plus 105. He's now minus 110. I can't trust either of these guys, and I can't trust betting against either of these guys. This is a clear pass for me. I know people in the chat are saying the fight doesn't go to decision, which I guess, but Roberson's been finishing all 5 of his losses, 4 coming by submission. Kennedy's not submitting him. Is Roberson going to knock out Kennedy? That's tough to do. I don't know. I kind of feel like it's just a greasy fight that is competitive. I have no clue what's going to happen here. The fight goes plus 150. Any props that stick out? Roberson inside the distance, only plus 155. Kennedy plus 220 inside the distance. Roberson by decision plus 500. Nzechukwu by decision plus 260. Yeah, this is just borderline a 100 gambler fight for me, Weezy. Anything sticking out on the props, the over-unders, the fight goes, doesn't go? What do you like in here for this fight?
So I'm looking at the UFC fights for these guys on my prop template. 13 of their 18 combined fights are finished inside the distance. That's 72.2%. At a minus 190, fight doesn't go to decision. That's a 65% implied probability. So we're getting almost a 7% edge over the implied probability of the line. And these guys are finishing at 72.2% when the division is finishing at 57.3%. So we're getting some nice little edges there. And I think the biggest thing, Brady, 7 of 8 combined losses inside the distance. So this is one I might be looking at. A fight doesn't go. I might be looking at an under 2.5. Something for violence here, because these guys are big hitters, and they've been finished inside the distance in 7 of their 8 UFC losses. So violence might be the way to play this fight.
Yep, I will not be playing this fight. I'm just going to sit back and watch this one. I don't know. I don't have a good feeling about this one, but I'm going to take Kennedy. I feel like the 9-inch reach advantage is huge. I feel like the volume's huge. I feel like he's just going to do a little bit more than Carl Roberson. We got Zach in the chat with a $20 dono saying, just wanted to thank you guys for all you do. Brady and Uncle Weezy. I usually thank Weezy on Twitter after a big night, but needed to give back. You guys helped me sweep the car last night. There you go, Weezy. It's Swaggy Z23 from Twitter. There you go.
I know that dude. He's always big upping me on Twitter. Always really kind words. A really good person. So thank you for the donation. We really appreciate hearing shit like that. We bust our ass to be ready every Sunday night for Stat Diggers. It's a labor of love, but when you guys give back to the show like that, it really means a lot to us. So big up, Swaggy Z. Thanks for the donation, man. Appreciate you.
Yes, sir. People like Zach makes it all worth it, right? Waking up in the morning, taping Chase Sherman, Jared Vanderaa. It's not easy. Not everybody can do it. Not everybody can tape, Jessica Rose Clark, Julia Stoliarenko, just for Stoliarenko to armbar Rose Clark in the first 30 seconds. But we do it, and we do it for you guys. Appreciate that a ton.
Yeah, Brady, I finished these stats at 3:45 in the morning last night after watching that whole card, after losing some close bets. It's like, all right, no time to lick our wounds, no time to say what might have been. It's time to work for Stat Diggers tomorrow. So, yeah, man, we're putting in that work, brother.
100%. All right, let us move on to the next fight. We have Cody Brundage going against Tresean Gore. We have Brundage, 28 years old, 6 foot with a 72-inch reach. Tresean Gore is 28 years old, 6 foot with a 75-inch reach. Both 28, both 6 foot, but it's going to be Gore with that 3-inch reach advantage. Cody Brundage is 3-2 in his last 5 fights. He made his debut against Nick Maximov, lost that fight by decision, and then he won by submission against Dalcha Lungiambula in a very good comeback victory where I thought this guy was done. I thought he was on his way out. He looked tired. He looked hurt. Dalcha was this close to finishing him. A couple more punches. The ref would have stepped in, but Dalcha Lungiambula decided to go for a double leg for some reason instead of finishing the fight. And then he locks up that guillotine and then submits Dalcha. Very good comeback victory. Showed a lot of toughness. And I don't know what Dalcha was doing in that fight, but he made a big mistake there and paid for it. Tresean Gore, he made his debut against Brian Battle. People were saying this was the real Ultimate Fighter finale. I did have a bet on Bryan Battle in that fight. And the reason I did have a bet on Bryan Battle as a dog, actually, in that fight was because of the volume. Bryan Battle, a very well-rounded fighter, solid wrestling, really good grappling, but the volume especially, the toughness, the cardio of Bryan Battle, is a very well-rounded fighter. And I thought he'd just do more than Tresean Gore, and that was the case. Tresean Gore, I think this guy's so talented for a 3-1 fighter. You watch this guy fight, and it doesn't look like he has only 4 professional MMA fights. He's good everywhere. I've seen him go out there and get takedowns in his own right. I've seen his takedown defense hold up. It looks really good. Outside the UFC against Bryan Battle, he stuffed the majority of the takedowns. He's very strong as well, and he has that power, has a ton of power. On the Ultimate Fighter, he put up 2 very good performances. That Urbina fight was crazy. He dropped Urbina like 3 times in that fight, showed a ton of power, and showed really good striking. But I guess the downfall of Tresean Gore is that volume. In the first round against Bryan Battle, just threw literally nothing. Bryan Battle was able to, win that first round. The second round, Gore starts coming forward. He starts letting his hands go. And when he does, he looks good. He looks dangerous. He hurts Battle twice bad in that second round. And then the third comes around. It's kind of a close-ish third round there. And Battle's able to get that decision. But, Gore, I really like what I see from this guy. He's young. He's 28. I think he's going to make improvements. I think he's well-rounded. And I think that power is key here in this fight. Cody Brundage, he's a wrestler, a solid wrestler. But I feel like this is a tough matchup for him. Like Cody Brundage on the feet, it's going to be Gore here all day, low volume or not. I really question the chin of Cody Brundage. Brundage has been hurt multiple times. That William Knight fight, he went for a takedown. William Knight hurt him with elbows and finished him. In the Dalcha fight, Brundage went for takedowns, and Dalcha hurt him there with some punches as well. So I question the chin of Brundage. And if he's not able to get Tresean Gore down, I feel like he's in very big trouble here. I actually really like Tresean Gore in this fight. I don't think Brundage is going to be able to take him down. Gore has shown phenomenal takedown defense in and outside the UFC. Very strong guy, and I think he's the better striker here. I think he can knock out Cody Brundage. I think he can win just based off of damage. I think he's really going to hurt Cody Brundage if Brundage can't get this fight down to the mat. So I like Gore here, Weezy. I'm curious to see what you have to say about this fight here.
Yeah, these are 2 good prospects here. They're both only 28 years old. For the division, they're young, and they're big dudes. But Gore, the bigger dude, 75-inch reach, and he fights out of both stances. So you like that 3-inch reach advantage, the switch stance fighter when it comes to the striking. And Brundage is the more active fighter, the more experienced fighter. He's got 5 more fights. He's got about 35 more minutes in the pro cage. He's got 1 less year as a pro, but check this out. Tresean Gore, 4 years as a pro and only 4 fights as a young man. So there's something to be, aware of. This guy is not very active. So Cody Brundage, only a 3-year career and 9 fights. So this dude's fighting 3 times a year. He's a lot more active. He's a lot more in the flow than Gore is. And he's had 2 more fights at the UFC level and a few more minutes in the UFC cage as well. Both of these guys are equal opportunity finishers, but Gore only has 3 wins, 2 of them by finish, 1 by submission, 1 by knockout, 1 by decision. So Gore can win in different ways. And Brundage here, same thing, 43% by submission, 43% by knockout. So he's got 3 wins by submission, 3 wins by knockout, 1 win by decision. He's been knocked out once in 2 losses, and Tresean Gore has never been finished. So, yeah, you got to believe that Gore will be at least the moment winner on the feet. But will he be the minute winner? Will a guy who throws 6.33 significant strike attempts per minute while his opponents are throwing 12.87, is he going to be winning minutes on the feet? Is he going to be winning minutes on the feet when he lands 3.8 significant strikes per minute, but his opponents land 7.47? Is he going to win minutes on the feet with sub 42% striking defense? Those are all things that need to get better, but it's a 1 fight sample size. So we can only let those numbers influence us so much. Brundage, a 3 fight sample size, but really only 6 more minutes in the cage at the UFC level than Gore. And, he's absorbing more than he lands, and his opponents are actually throwing more. They're both landing at 60%. Neither one of them has a knockdown. Neither one of them has been knocked down. Both of them have sub 50% striking defense. Don't like seeing that. But Brundage is the guy with the wrestling background, right? He's the guy that I think if we're going to see somebody win minutes in the grappling, it's probably going to be Cody. But if we're going to see somebody look better on the feet, it's probably going to be Gore. Gore's going to have that reach advantage. Gore's going to be switching stances. And Gore does land the more eye-catching strikes, for sure. So it's a good fight between two good young prospects. Like I say, Brundage, is spending a lot of time in control time positions here for and against. 22% control time for, almost 54% control time against. So that is, over 3/4 of the time in his fights in the UFC cage have been spent in control time positions for or against. I don't know if Tresean's going to flourish in that kind of a fight here. I think this is going to be very, very greasy. And we don't know much about strength of schedule. The strength of schedule for Tresean Gore is on the screen. Prince Ellerby, LJ Jones, Kristen Eccles, and Brian Battle. And then the two fights in the house against one of the dudes is named Ryder, if I remember correctly, and the other one was against Urbina. And I mean, he beat Urbina up. I mean, he really looked like the much better striker on the feet there. So I'm leaning Tresean on the feet. I'm not leaning him. I'm very confident that he should be the better striker here. He may not be winning minutes, but if it stays on the feet for 15 minutes, he's going to find a moment where he changes the trajectory of the fight. But Brundage is going to be wrestling. Brundage is going to be making this greasy, and where he's going to test Tresean Gore's takedown defense, which has been very good so far. It's going to be a great fight, man. I'm leaning Gore at this point. I had a bet on Gore against Brian Battle. Thought it was a very close fight. Thought it could have went either way, but Battle threw a ton more volume. So maybe Cody can learn something from that, but it's not like Cody Brundage is a volume king here. So I think I do have to lean Tresean Gore.
Yeah, I mean, what stuck out to me the most was just how physically strong Gore is, how good his takedown defense is. And if Brundage can take him down, I guess that's his path. And I guess the minute winning is a question, but man, I just don't think Brundage's striking's there. I don't think his volume's there. I don't think the technique's there. I think Gore is just better every aspect in the striking, but it could be greasy, but I just really like this matchup for Gore. I don't know if he knocks out Brundage. I'm kind of leaning that way. I mean, I don't like how Brundage reacts to these shots. We see that Gore opened up -105. He's now -115. Brundage opened up -115. He's -105. It looks like the money is coming in on Gore there. The fight goes to decision +100. The fight doesn't go to decision is plus or -140. It looks like money coming in on those overs and those fight goes. Gore wins inside the distance +280. Brundage inside the distance +177. So I guess they're saying that there's a more likely scenario that Brundage finishes Gore, which I don't really agree with. Brundage by decision +400 and Gore by decision +220. Those seems like they should probably flip there. But I like Gore here. I might just bet him straight. I don't know if I'm going to pull the trigger yet because I could see him winning based off of moments as well. But I'm kind of leaning that KO. So I'm curious to see what the KO prop comes at. But there's some weird props there, Weezy. It looks like they're saying Brundage has a better chance to finish Gore, which I kind of disagree with. I know Brundage probably has a better finish rate here than Gore, but I kind of lean Gore knockout. Any thoughts on the fight goes or that doesn't go? Any thoughts on the money line, anything like that?
Fight goes, fight doesn't go. 9 of their 13 combined pro fights have finished inside the distance. That's about 70%. The implied probability of the line is about 63%. And at the UFC level, they're finishing 50% of their fights, but it's only 2 of 4. Oh, God. Yeah, nothing on the time props is sticking out for me. Like you, I think I'm leaning Gore here, but man, this is weird. I want to see more of Gore in the cage. I feel like he could be adding to his game, and if he does, if he learns to let his hands go a little bit more, I think he's going to be a serious problem because he's already showing that really good takedown defense, which can take you a long way. If you're confident in your striking and you're confident in your takedown defense, it could take you a long way in the UFC, especially at these higher weight class divisions where the fighters aren't as skilled as in the lower weight classes like bantamweight. So it's an interesting fight. I'm leaning Gore, but I'm staying away from the time props.
Absolutely. Sean saying Brady's overrating Gore. No, trust me, Sean, I had a bet on Brian Battle. I was shitting all over Gore last fight. I take a look at the matchups here, and I think it's a good matchup. I'm not overrating Tresean Gore. I think his takedown defense is good to stuff these takedowns, keep it on the feet. So we'll move on to the next fight. We have a dono. Missed it. Almost missed it. Big Steve with the dono saying at big_Steve MA. Appreciate you, Big Steve. That is your Twitter handle. Go follow Big Steve. Appreciate you a ton, man. All righty. Let us keep moving on. I think I'm all caught up there. Okay, so we have the next fight. We have, oh boy, we have probably the second, man. I'm counting that Roberson and Nzechukwu fight as a 1-800 gambler. This is the second 1-800 gambler fight of the night. Antonina Shevchenko, the bad Shevchenko, going against Courtney Casey, the bad Courtney Casey. Shevchenko is 37 years old, 5'8" with a 67-inch reach. Casey, 35 years old, 5'7" with a 67-inch reach. Casey, 2 years younger. Shevchenko, a 1-inch height advantage. Shevchenko is 2-3 in her last 5 fights. A submission win over Lucy Pudilova, a decision loss to Caitlin Chukagan, a knockout win against Ariana Lipsky, a submission loss to Andrea Lee, and then a knockout loss against Casey O'Neill. Courtney Casey, 2-3 in her last 5 fights as well. Decision loss against Cynthia Calvillo, a submission win against Mara Morella Borrella, a submission loss against Jillian Robertson, a decision loss to JJ Aldrich, and then a decision win against Luana Jojua. Typically in looking at an Antonina Shevchenko fight, I would look at somebody that would maybe try to take her down. This fight is kind of interesting because Courtney Casey in 14 professional fights in the UFC, she's only landed 3 of those takedowns. She only has a 27% takedown accuracy. So I kind of feel like this does stay standing for 15 minutes. And if it does, I don't know. I feel like it's going to be competitive. I feel like the better striker is probably Shevchenko, but Courtney Casey does bring a lot of volume to the table. So this is a fight that I will not be betting on. I did retire from betting on fights like these, and I actually, the old me, I was telling Weezy, the old me would have bet on Jessica Rose-Clark last week. I stopped betting on those fights. I saved money, and I will be also saving money on this fight. I'm not touching it. 1-800 gambler. What do you think about this one, Weezy?
Yeah. Well, we got a sample size, so let's play with the numbers. Let's see if we can find something within and see if we can find a max bet in this fight, Brady, huh?
Max bet, let's go.
Let's go. So Antonina, older but taller, same reach. Antonina's a southpaw. Casey, definitely the experience advantage. 6 more fights, about 80 more minutes in the pro cage. Look at Antonina's career length. 20 years, 2 months as a pro mixed martial artist with a Muay Thai career prior to that. Do they let you fight Muay Thai in Kyrgyzstan at the age of 14? Because I think that you would have to be in order to be fighting for that long. But yeah, she's 27, has a 20-year career, but only 13 fights. So I think maybe she was mixing in the MMA and the Muay Thai, maybe doing both at the same time. But yeah, it's Casey with the experience advantage. It's Casey with the UFC experience with 6 more fights, double the amount of cage time. Courtney finishing 50% of her UFC wins. Antonina finishing 75% of her UFC wins. It's a 70% finish rate overall by Courtney Casey. And it is a 44% finish rate overall by Shevchenko. Casey, very durable, only been finished in 2 of her 9 losses and in 1 of her 8 UFC losses, and it was by submission. And I don't think we're going to see Antonina really subbing high-level, women's mixed martial artists. But yeah, it's Antonina who has that Muay Thai background. So I guess you could say, with her being the southpaw, with her probably being the better schooled striker here, that she should be the minute winner on the feet. But if you look at Courtney, she's throwing 2.4 more significant strike attempts per minute than her opponents are. She lands almost a half more significant strike per minute than her opponents. But, you see Antonina 57% accurate. Courtney Casey 39% accurate. And in that huge sample size, we've never even seen Courtney Casey knock anybody down. But I think her best standing weapon is the calf kicks. She spams calf kicks, and that can be a serious problem. But those Muay Thai fighters like Shevchenko, they're not seriously heavy on their lead legs, so they usually know how to deal with those leg attacks a little bit better than most. Can't count on Casey to wrestle. I'm not looking for Antonina to wrestle. I think Antonina's probably going to get the fight that she wants here. Both of these ladies have had a lot of takedown attempts against them. Antonina more than Casey, because Antonina is seeing more than 4 takedown attempts per fight, while Casey's seeing just over 3. But neither one of them are doing a good job of stopping takedowns, and neither one of them are doing a good job of avoiding losing minutes on the ground. When you look at the wins, I guess they're better for Casey. The 0.63 ratio though for Casey, 0.73 ratio for Shevchenko. Neither one of these ladies are world beaters. Even the fights that they're losing are to not great competition. This is, it's not a great fight, Brady. Now that I've went through the numbers, I'm thinking that I'm probably going to avoid having a max on this fight. Maybe fight goes to disappointment.
That could be a max bet.
That could be. Yeah, man. It's. I'm not really seeing much stick out here. I guess I would have to lean Shevchenko because I think maybe she's the better striker. But Courtney's a veteran. She knows what she's doing in there. This is old hat for her at this point. This will be her 15th UFC fight. She's been around for a minute. This is a big stay away.
Yeah, it's definitely a big stay away, especially after you take a look at the line. Shevchenko opened up -160. She's now -175. Courtney Casey opened up +140. She's currently +150. Like, I don't get it. Like, in terms of making a pick, yeah, Shevchenko, she should be the better striker. But what if Courtney Casey does go out here and go for takedowns? But I don't know. I'm going to take Shevchenko as far as a pick goes. I guess I'll take her to win by decision. Shevchenko by decision is only like +150. No, thank you. Fight goes to decision -170. Fight doesn't go to decision +130. Anything sticking out from the time props?
Fight goes is what?
-170.
That's not bad. Only 9 of their 22 combined fights have finished inside the distance at the UFC level, which means that 13 of 22 haven't finished inside the distance. So 13 of 22 go to decision. That is a 59% decision rate. It's exactly a 59% decision rate for this division. And we are overpaying on the fight goes to decision line by about 3.9% when you put that 59.1% decision rate for the two fighters up against the 62.96% implied probability of the fight goes to decision. So it's another reason to stay away. Yeah, man, I am staying away. Probably would go fight goes if you put a gun to my head and said you have to make a bet. I would probably lean that way. But yeah, this is a good one to skip over, dude.
Yeah, luckily there will be no guns to our head, and we can just easily pass, and we can save our money. Like, yeah, I've been not betting on fights like these for a while, and not only have my results been better, but my mental health has improved leaps and bounds. I'm getting better sleep. Not betting on fights like these. Like, what's the point, man? We'll move on to the next fight, though. We have a very good fight. I cannot wait for this one. We have Ricky Turcios going against Aiemann Zahabi. We have Zahabi, who is 34 years old, 5'8", with a 68-inch reach. Turcios, he is 29 years old, 5'9", with a 71-inch reach. Zahabi is going to be 5 years older. Turcios, 1-inch height advantage, and Turcios, a 3-inch reach advantage. So tail the tape in favor of Ricky Turcios. Zahabi is 3-2 in his last 5 fights. I believe he made his debut against Ricardo Ramos, lost that fight by knockout, lost the decision against Vince Morales, and then won by knockout as a dog against Draco Rodriguez in the very first round. Ricky Turcios made his debut against Brady Highstand, won that fight by decision. Very fun fight. He was also on The Ultimate Fighter. Another guy like Gore was as well, and he is 3-2 in his last 5 fights. And I went back and watched the tape on Turcios, watched some of his fights on The Ultimate Fighter as well. He did fight some very good fighters on The Ultimate Fighter. I believe one was Ludovic Shalinian, and then there was another good guy that he fought on The Ultimate Fighter. So he's fought some good guys there. He has lost to Boston Solomon as well, who was in the UFC. He lost to Mana Martinez by knockout in the first round, who's also in the UFC. This is an interesting fight here because Ricky Turcios, this is a guy that I don't know how to describe it, but as soon as the fight starts, he's doing something, and he's doing something for 15 consecutive minutes. This guy's volume is just something like you'll never see. He's throwing volume on the feet. When he gets taken down, he's throwing volume off his back. He's throwing up submission attempts. This is the guy that is doing something every single second of the fight. This guy's the definition of a minute winner because he's literally doing something every single second. How can you not favor this guy to win minutes? I do see a couple problems with Turcios. So this guy is very hittable. He relies on his chin. He relies on his toughness, his durability, and that did not work out against Mana Martinez. On top of that, his takedown defense is very suspect. Got taken down multiple times in his debut, and not even that. Even outside the UFC, this guy's getting taken down and getting taken down fairly easily. What I will say, off his back, he is very high volume. He's throwing stuff, throwing punches off his back, throwing slaps off his back. He's throwing up submissions. He's working his way back up. He has good scrambles. So he is very active off his back, which I do like, but his takedown defense definitely does need some work. And on top of that, just overall, he's reckless. He's very reckless. But again, I mean, the volume is just crazy. The pace is crazy. The cardio is crazy for Turcios, and he can go crazy for 15 minutes. And I do like that. Zahabi's like the complete opposite. Like, this is a guy that is a black belt in BJJ, and he doesn't have great wrestling to get it down to the mat, which could he in this fight? Could he take down Turcios? Maybe. Turcios' takedown defense is not great, but Zahabi on the feet, very, very low volume. But when he does land, he lands hard. This guy throws with a lot of power. And I guess that's my one concern in this fight, because I think Turcios is going to be the minute winner. I think he's going to be throwing a ton more strikes in this fight. But with how hittable he is and how hard Zahabi does hit, we have seen Turcios knocked out before. But yeah, I got to favor Turcios here. I think the activity, the volume, the cardio is going to be key here. And I think he does pull away with the decision. But with how hittable he is, with his poor takedown defense, with his recklessness, I cannot be laying this price tag on him. But I like Turcios here to win. I like him to win by decision. Weezy, really curious to your thoughts on this one here.
Yeah, Turcios a nice size advantage. He's got an inch of height. He's got a 3-inch reach advantage, and he's 5 years younger. So I'm immediately liking the tail of the tape advantage that Turcios has here. In addition to that, he's got 3 more fights at the pro level. He's got over twice as much cage time as Aiemann Zahabi as a pro. And, it's Zahabi, though, who has 2 more fights at the UFC level and 15 more minutes in the UFC cage. It's Zahabi who's the much better finisher, finishing 7 of 8 wins inside the distance, while Turcios is a 36% finish rate in 11 wins. And Turcios has been finished once by knockout. Zahabi has been finished once by knockout. So, but what I really look at here in the striking numbers, I think, is important, right? We see Aiemann Zahabi, if we go down to the grappling really quick, about 6% control time for, about 6% control time against. So that means about, 88% of his fights are taking place at striking range. So this guy's striking a lot, right, Brady? But he's absorbing 1 more significant strike per minute than he lands. He throws just under 7 significant strike attempts per minute, but his opponents are throwing almost 11 and a half. But 65.5% striking defense is very good. But, defense doesn't win fights. You have to do something at some point. And Zahabi just doesn't seem to do much. But he does have 2 knockdowns in 4 fights, so he can win some moments. But we've seen Turcios win moments as well. But the difference between these guys is the volume. You look at Turcios throwing 15.4 significant strike attempts per minute, while his opponents are only throwing 10.27, and he lands 7, while his opponents are landing 4.23. So he's a lot more active, and he's shown a little bit of power as well. It's just that it looks like unless Zahabi's able to get this fight to the ground and win some minutes there, excuse me, and he's going to probably be knockout or bust, because we see the power there, and we see that his win against Draco came by knockout. So that is a path for him. The guy's been a good finisher, but he's only attempted 6 takedowns in 4 fights, and he's only gotten 1 takedown. So can we count on this dude to wrestle, to commit to the wrestling, to try to take down a guy like Turcios, who's going to be scrambling, throwing up submissions, going to just generally be a pain in the ass to try to get to the ground and try to win minutes against? So, I don't exactly know what to think of Zahabi here. You got a guy with he's been in the UFC for like 4 years, and this is like his 4th fight. He just hasn't been very active. And Turcios hasn't exactly been the picture of activeness either, but he's been a little bit more active lately, having been in the Ultimate Fighter house at least. So, I'm looking for Turcios to win minutes here. If I would bet Turcios, I would bet him to win by decision. Not a great finisher at 36% in his career, but this is another one, man. I don't know where Zahabi's at. A 34-year-old bantamweight, who's been very inactive lately, fighting less than once a year. So, yeah, I think I have to lean Turcios.
Yeah, I think you have to, because he's going to be the minute winner, and Zahabi's like the opposite of a minute winner. He doesn't do anything at all. But we can't deny that Zahabi does have some power. And when he does throw, he lands very, very hard. So, yeah, I think kind of the best way to play this is probably, I think a sneaky way, Weezy, would be that finish only prop for Aiemann Zahabi. Zahabi's actually finished 88% of his wins, all but one. And Turcios a 36% finishing rate as well. And then Turcios has been knocked out before by Mana Martinez. So I think the finish only for Zahabi is probably good plus money there. The decision only for Turcios especially, but that's going to be juiced to the tits more than likely. We'll take a look at the line here, and Turcios opened up minus 185, currently minus 190. Zahabi opened up plus 160, currently plus 160. The fight goes to decision minus 145. The fight doesn't go to decision plus 105. Zahabi inside the distance, which I think that's his most likely path, plus 320. And then Turcios by decision, which I think that's his most likely path, is plus 155. I cannot lay minus 190 on Turcios. I think there's a lot of holes in his game that will be exposed soon, but I just don't think Zahabi, who doesn't do anything, is going to expose those holes. So Turcios by decision. Weezy, anything that sticks out from a money line standpoint, a prop standpoint, anything?
What is the fight goes?
The fight goes is minus 145.
I like that. I like the fight goes. I mean, the one thing that I know about Zahabi is the guy doesn't do shit. Yeah. You know, he's patient to a fault. You could tell his brother's a coach. The guy is constantly fucking thinking, you know, and like the guys that don't think, at least they fight, you know. I mean, and they might make some dumb mistakes in there, but this guy's a hobby, you know. I mean, he's a very well coached, very smart kid, you know, and it just looks like he thinks too much in there because he's so low volume that it's really hard to see him winning minutes unless he does spectacular things. So I love the way that you broke it down. I think those are the best bets. Finish only for Zahabi, decision for Turcios, decision only for Turcios. Looks like Turcios is the minute winner, while Zahabi will be the moment winner.
Absolutely. Pub Sports did drop this link, a new partner, UFC Strike. Weezy, I feel like you can explain this a little bit better than me. Do you want to kind of explain a little bit about UFC Strike?
Is it the NFTs?
The NFTs. Weren't they given away on the stream
last
night?
They were, yeah. So when we were doing the watch along, they were giving away these NFTs. But, I'm an old man at this point, dude. These NFTs, I don't even know what they stand for. But I know that there are people that are into this stuff. And Pub Sports is doing business with the UFC because these are the NFTs that are official from the UFC. So if you're into NFTs, go check them out on Pub Sports Radio because they got you hooked up.
Yeah, and Slaughter sent that link to me, and I think if you click that link, I think you get like a free NFT, which I don't know much about them as well, but maybe I can start getting into it because it kind of seems like a pretty cool thing there. So check that out if you guys are into the NFT stuff. The should be fun stuff there. But yeah, glad that UFC Strike did partner with Pub Sports. It's awesome. We got a donor here. We have Josh. What is up, Josh? Saying cash the under on the Rose Clark fight. There you go, plus 195. Tips for that cash, my homies. Cheers. Appreciate that, Josh. Glad you hit that. Hey, that was no sweat for you. Shout to Julia Stoliarenko for going out there and getting that armbar win. There you go. I like it.
Dude, Brady, by the way, if you had a fight goes to decision bet on that fight, not that I'm saying there would have been anything wrong with that, but 10 seconds into that fight, you would have been like, I'm fucked. It was one of those fights that just started in a way that there was no way that fight was going to decision. Those two came out absolutely scrapping, and yeah, great cash, no sweat. It was over fast. Way to go, Josh.
I thought like during the walk, Julia Stoliarenko looked possessed. Like she was like foaming out of the mouth walking. I was like, okay, Julia. And I was with my family, and they're all like picking her, like, oh, she's gonna win. Oh, and then she went out there just that was great performance by Julia Stoliarenko. I can't wait to fade her in the future. But there you go. That was nice to see. We'll move on to the next fight, and we have. Oh boy! Oh no! No! Oh,
what happened, dude?
Should we skip it and act like we didn't even see it? No, but we have Calvillo going against Nina Nunes. We have Calvillo, 34 years old, 5'4" with a 64-inch reach. Nina Nunes, 36 years old, 5'5" with a 64-inch reach. Calvillo, 2 years younger. Nunes, 1-inch height advantage, same reach. Calvillo, 1-3-1 draw in her last 5 fights. A draw against Marina Rodriguez. A decision win against Jessica Ai. Decision loss against Katlyn Chookagian, a knockout loss against Jessica Andrade, and then a knockout loss against Andrea Lee. Nunes, 3-2 in her last 5 fights, a decision win against Angela Hill, a decision win against Randa Marcos, a decision win against Claudia Gadelia, and then a decision loss against Tatiana Suarez, and then a submission loss to one Mackenzie Dern. So Nina Nunes took a big, and it looks like Bootsy is liking, I believe Nunes is the dog here. Bootsy liking Nunes right off the bat. I like it. But yeah, Nunes lost to Suarez by decision 3 years ago. She took about a 1 year and 8 month layoff there, and because she had a kid, and she comes back and she just looks like really, really bad. First of all, like Mackenzie Dern was really competitive in the striking. I didn't expect that. And then Dern was able to take her down, submit her a little bit shortly after there. So I question where Nunes is, 36 years old at this point at 125 pounds. After that layoff, after having a kid, I don't like that. I question her mentality. I question if she wants to be here. And then the same thing with Calvillo. What the heck happened in her last performance against Andrea Lee? Like, she looked horrendous. And there's that corner stoppage. Like, she got destroyed in that fight by Andrea Lee. So two fighters where I'm like, I don't know if they, I don't know if I thought Calvillo for sure was going to retire or get cut because she's on like a 3-fight skid here. But this is a fight and we got to talk about it. I don't know. I really don't know. Weezy, help me out here. Let's talk about this fight for us.
Okay, so remember when we broke down the Nina Nunes against Dern fight? We were talking about Nina Nunes' takedown defense, being really good.
Oh, yeah.
And Cynthia Calvillo is a grappler who has fallen in love with her hands. Can we name one other grappler who shit the bed in spectacular fashion recently this year, who also trains out of Team Alpha Male and went out there with just an absolutely dog shit game plan?
How can I not? How can I not? I see it in my dreams every night. It's McKenna, Corey McKenna.
And so they're drinking the same water, these two. Calvillo, McKenna, Danny Castillo. They're telling them, hey, man, you're great grapplers, but you can box too, He's the non-Armenian version of Edmund Tarvarian, okay? We're going to turn Ronda Rousey into a boxer. Well, you know what? It's not working out, and Calvillo needs to go back to what she was doing when she was winning fights. How was she winning fights? Was she winning fights at all with her striking? It's time for Cynthia Calvillo to look in the mirror and to repeat these words to herself over and over again. I am a grappler. Say it with me. I am a grappler. I'm a grappler. That's what she needs to do. And she's not doing it. It's not working out. Andrea Lee kicked the shit out of her. But, Brady, when we look at the last 5 names, look at what Cynthia Calvillo's been through here. Andrea Lee, Jessica Andrade, Caitlin Chookagian, Jessica Ai, Marina Rodriguez, okay? She had a draw against Marina Rodriguez. She got a win against Jessica Ai. And then she's out there trying to box Caitlin Chookagian. And then she's out there and gets murdered by Jessica Andrade. But that's Jessica Andrade. But then, Andrea Lee. She gets out grappled by Andrea Lee in that fight. How did that happen? And outstruck. So, look, it's bad right now. She needs to grapple. And we just saw Nina Nunes get subbed. Now we know that Calvillo is not on the level of Dern on the ground, but this is Nina Nunes' first fight up at 125, by the way. She's been a career 115er. This one's going to take place at 125. So Nina's got to keep it standing. She's a good boxer. Calvillo's got to get this thing to the ground. She's got 16 takedowns in 11 fights. She's attempting 1 submission per 15 minutes. Her wins, she's got 6 UFC wins. 3 of them are by submission. This is what she needs to do. If she's out there boxing again, it's just time to hang them up because you're just going to get hurt. You're not a boxer, Cynthia. You're a grappler. And Nina Nunes is a boxer. So it's a very clear game plan here for Cynthia, but I don't think we can really count on her to take it. It's pretty. What's the line on this fight, Brady?
Calvillo opened up -170. She's now -148. Nunes opened up +145, and she's now +128.
I don't know if you could have told me any lines that would have made sense on this fight. I don't know what I was expecting to hear, but from what I heard, yeah, I'm not laying juice on Cynthia Calvillo. I wouldn't lay juice on Nina Nunes here either, going up a weight class, coming off of a pregnancy. It's hard to know where she's at. 1-800-GAMBLER feels really good for this one. Retiring from doing bad things for your body and your mental health also sounds like a great idea. But I can't blame Bootsy for being on Nunes here, because obviously Calvillo's coaches are they're convincing her of something that's not true, and that's that she's a great mixed martial artist and not just a great grappler. There's nothing wrong with being just a great grappler. Use it. Do what you're good at. Make your opponent, and in this case, in this matchup, it's going to make Nina very uncomfortable if Cynthia's wrestling and grappling here, but she needs to do it. She needs to be aggressive with it, and we haven't seen enough of that lately.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, it's a 1-800-GAMBLER. I mean, somebody in the chat said that me and you are working for the bookies. If we were working for the bookies, we would say, yeah, guys, bet on this fight, bet on freaking Calvillo, do it at chalk as well. But luckily, we don't work for the bookies, and luckily, we are putting up that 1-800-GAMBLER. I mean, I would not recommend betting anything on this fight, but some of the people in the chat, I think it was Dan, brought it up. The OnlyFans fade has been like on fire as of late. Just a couple off the top of my head. Yeah, like Kay Hansen as well.
Who's got an OnlyFans in this fight?
Even Jessica Andrade has an OnlyFans these days. But in this fight, the OnlyFans, I'll let you guess. Who do you think has an OnlyFans in this fight?
Oh, come on. Is it Calvillo? Because Nina Nunes is married, so
it's Calvillo. Yeah, she's
so now we're working for the bookies. Cynthia Calvillo has an OnlyFans. And Sean Strickland isn't trying to take down Alex Pereira. What next, dude? What next?
I guess I don't know. It's 2022. Things are crazy these days, man.
Yeah, they are. And you're not even old enough to remember the good old days like I am, Brady, No,
I mean, Bootsy really likes Nunes, and I agree with him. I mean, but how confident can you be in Nunes as a dog here? She's 36 years old. I question her mentality. I question if she was even. I thought she was for sure going to retire after that Dern fight. Like, she's a mom. Calvillo, she looked washed in her last fight against Andrea Lee. She has an OnlyFans. That's more important these days, it seems. Yeah, it's dog or pass, but I just can't bet on this fight. Like, even the props, one of these fighters can quit. We saw Calvillo quit in her last fight. So the fight goes -190. The fight doesn't go +150. Just nothing. I'm not, like I said, I retired. Bootsy, you're tempting me, but I did retire from betting these fights, and rightfully so. It's dog or pass. Laying chalk on Calvillo seems like a horrendous idea here.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more, man. But if she grapples, she could look the price. But that's an if, And yeah, I'm not betting this fight, dude. I'll feel a lot better.
I will feel better as well. We have 237 people with us on a Sunday breaking down Cynthia Calvillo, Nina Nunes. What is wrong with all of you? You all are sick. Get some help. 237 breaking down this fight with us. Shout out to you guys. You guys are the true degenerates. I cannot believe it, but we do appreciate all of you. Leave a like. It does mean a ton. It does go a long way. We're going to keep breaking down these fights. This card's something, man. I like it. I'll move on to the next fight. I believe this is the first fight on the main card. We have Michael Johnson going against Jamie Mullarkey. Michael Johnson, 36 years old, 5'10", with a 73-inch reach. Jamie Mullarkey, 27 years old, 6 foot with a 74-inch reach. Jamie Mullarkey is 9 years younger. He's going to have a 2-inch height advantage. You have a 1-inch reach advantage as well. Massive tail of tape advantage in favor of one Jamie Mullarkey. Michael Johnson is 1-4 in his last 5 fights. A knockout loss against Josh Emmett in a fight he was winning. A decision loss against Stephen Ray in a fight he was winning. A submission loss against Thiago Moises in a fight he was winning. And then a decision loss against Clay Guida. And then a knockout win against Alan Patrick in a fight where it was a little bit more competitive than it should have been. I think Patrick rocked Michael Johnson at one point. So yeah, 1-4 in his last 5 fights. Jamie Mullarkey is 2-3 in his last 5 fights. A decision loss to Brad Riddell. Decision loss to Farazim. I thought he won that fight. A knockout win against Kama Worthy in the first round. A good knockout win against Devontae Smith as well. And then a knockout loss against that beast and Jalen Turner. Really no shame in that. Yeah, when you think of Michael Johnson, the first thing that comes to mind is 1-800-GAMBLER. This is a guy that, as always, I mean, he has a ton of talent, but at the end of the day, he's 20-17. He's a guy that tends to drop the ball more often than not. He's a guy that is typically a favorite in a lot of fights, and he typically does go out there and, quite frankly, shits the bed at times. We mentioned a ton of scenarios right there with Moises, Ray, and Emmett in fights. He's winning up until he's not. This fight, I don't know. This fight is interesting because I feel like if Jamie Mullarkey goes in here and makes this his fight, makes it a dog fight. Like Jamie Mullarkey's a dog. He's going to come forward. He's going to be reckless. And Bootsy's a dog as well. And Bootsy might be on Michael Johnson. But I like Mullarkey here because I think he's going to come forward. I think he's going to push Johnson against the cage. I think he's going to make this dirty. If this was a clean technical fight for 15 minutes, they're both at range. I do favor Michael Johnson there. I like Michael Johnson striking. I like his hand speed. And Jamie Mullarkey's a walking punching bag. But, Jamie Mullarkey, I feel like he can mix in takedowns. I feel like he has okay grappling. I like the cardio. I like the pace. I like the toughness. I like the dog in him. I think Jamie Mullarkey makes this a very dirty fight. And I feel like he could potentially finish Michael Johnson here, but I feel like he can, mix in takedowns, do enough, and potentially even get a decision as well. So I like Mullarkey here. I can't trust Michael Johnson, especially at 36 years old. I feel like if Mullarkey went out there and made it a Michael Johnson's fight at range, Michael Johnson could win that fight, but I just don't think that's the case. I think it's going to be a war, and I think a war absolutely does favor Jamie Mullarkey. And I don't know, I feel like he could even finish Michael Johnson. Like I said, like Johnson has been knocked out before. Johnson's been submitted 1,000,000 times. And we did see Patrick kind of clip Johnson a second there in that first round. So, yeah, give me Jamie Mullarkey. I think he wins. We'll talk about the line in a little bit, very wide. And I don't know if I'll quite get there. But, yeah, give me Jamie Mullarkey here. Weezy, what are your thoughts on this one here?
Man, it's a Michael Johnson fight. So normally the first thing I think of is just skip over it. Don't even tape it because, yes. Michael Johnson could wind up looking like Michael Johnson, like really great, and then you'd be like, what the fuck just happened? Did Michael Johnson look great? And he's still 36 years old. This is not a 42-year-old man. This is a 36-year-old welterweight. He's not over the hill yet. He's got a ton of experience, 400 minutes of cage time as a pro, almost 15 years as a pro fighter, 25 fights at the UFC level. He's a lot more experienced than Jamie Mullarkey. But Mullarkey's 9 years younger, 2 inches taller, has an inch reach advantage, has a 92% finish rate as a pro, while for Johnson it's 55%. And Mullarkey's finished both of his wins inside the distance. And Mullarkey's been finishing 3 of 5 losses, while it's 65% for Johnson. So I'd say probably about 12 of his 17 losses. No, probably 11 of his 17 losses coming inside the distance. Johnson's got some good numbers on the aggregate here, and over a 25 fight sample size, he lands about 0.5 more significant strikes per minute than his opponents do. He throws almost 2 more significant strike attempts per minute than his opponents do. Pretty good power. He's got 10 knockdowns in 25 fights, and he's only been knocked down twice. So, 5-to-1 knockdown ratio over his 25 fight career is really good. But there's a lot to like about Jamie Mullarkey. That dude came in and his first UFC fight was against Brad Riddell. And it was just an absolute banger. What an awesome fight. And then he fights Fares Ziam and loses a fight he probably should have won. And then he knocks out Kama. He knocks out Devontae Smith. And then he was a pretty close line with Jalen Turner. I had a big bet on Jalen there and felt really good about it. But you know what Mullarkey did? He got him down at the end of the first, spent about the last 45 seconds to a minute of that first round on top. And he might be able to wrestle Michael Johnson here. Michael Johnson has 21 takedown attempts in 25 UFC fights. So even though Michael kind of came in when he was on The Ultimate Fighter, he was known as a wrestler, first. But he's a guy that's fallen in love with his hands and gotten away from the wrestling. And it's probably one of the major reasons that he's been so mercurial, so difficult to predict, is because he doesn't take the easy way out. He doesn't use his wrestling base as much as he should. Mullarkey's embracing that wrestling base because he's already got the toughness. He's already got the power. If he can figure out how to take breaks, how to win minutes on the ground, how to, take other good strikers out of their game, he's going to be very dangerous. And like we said, I got to say it one more time, 27 years old, Jamie Mullarkey. So these guys are at two different parts in their career. You got to believe on the narrative side that Jamie Mullarkey is going to want this a lot more, and that he's a lot tougher. I mean, this dude is an absolute dog. But he's coming off a very, very serious knockout from Jalen Turner. We got to keep that in mind. And when we look at the strength of schedule, it's the much more experienced competition is being faced by Michael Johnson. You know, the guys that Mullarkey's beating have a 2-to-1 win-loss ratio, but less than 5 UFC fights. So, yeah, I got to be with you on this one and pick Mullarkey. But would I be surprised if Michael Johnson came out looking just absolutely fantastic and screwed up a lot of people's bets? No, because Michael Johnson's very difficult to predict. He looks like garbage when you think he's going to look great, and he looks comes out and starches Tony Ferguson, for Christ's sake. You know, I mean, how the hell did that happen? He's got some wins on his record that you'd be like, he beat that guy? Yeah. So Michael Johnson fights are fights that my money stays far away from.
Yeah, they're just untouchable. On top of that, Jamie Mullarkey, at the end of the day, he's very hittable, a 47% striking defense. But yeah, I think he has all the tools to win this fight. But Mullarkey, so get this. Mullarkey actually opened up as a plus 130 underdog, and he's now minus 245. Michael Johnson opened up a minus 150 favorite. He's minus 210. And this line is only going to get wider. People are running to the window to fade Michael Johnson. Can't blame you. I will not be laying the minus 250 on Jamie Mullarkey myself, but I feel like it's going to be a very popular parlay piece. I would have loved that plus 130 on Jamie Mullarkey, my goodness, but that was not there long. It went from plus 130 to minus 160, and then just nothing but Mullarkey love there ever since. So, yeah, big favorite there, Mullarkey. The fight goes to decision, plus 140. The fight doesn't go as minus 180. I would lean towards the fight doesn't go to decision. The only thing that scares me is Johnson, when he is getting finished, it is by submission. 9 submission losses. Can Mullarkey submit Johnson? Maybe. I lean towards no. And they've only been knocked out 5 times in a combined 56 fights. Both guys are pretty tough. I feel like it could finish, but I'm not running to the window to lay that minus 180. Weezy, any thoughts about the minus 250 Jamie Mullarkey, and then any thoughts about any of these props?
Yeah, minus 250. Wow, that's really wide. Because, I mean, look, Johnson's fought everybody, and he's got a ton of experience, and he's well-rounded. You know, he's a good wrestler, good boxer, trains at Sanford MMA. I wouldn't lay that much on Mullarkey here. At minus 180, fight doesn't go to decision. 3 of 5 of Mullarkey's UFC fights have finished inside the distance, but for Michael Johnson, it's 12 of 25, so it's a little bit under 50%. When you add up their combined UFC experience, only 15 of their 30 fights have finished inside the distance. So that's a 50% rate, but the implied probability of the fight doesn't go to decision line sitting around 64%. So you're overpaying about 13.5% when you compare the implied probability of the fight doesn't go to decision line to the divisional finish rate of 50.72% and to these two fighters' finish rate of about 50%. So I mean, the analytics are saying that the value is on the fight goes to decision line, but I could see somebody getting slept here, man. Michael Johnson makes a lot of mistakes, and fucking Jamie Mullarkey comes out like a house of fire. So it's going to be a great fight.
It'll be a fun fight for sure from a viewer standpoint, but I mean, just betting Michael Johnson fights, like you said, they're nearly impossible. Which Michael Johnson shows up, and minus 250 on Jamie Mullarkey. I'm not quite sure what's going on there, but we'll move on to the next fight. When we have the people's main event, we had to sit through, going through a Calvillo fight, Nunes fight. We had to go through fights like that on the prelims, but now we get to the high level stuff. We have Jared Vanderaa going against Chase Sherman, which, by the way, Chase Sherman is fighting for the worst UFC heavyweight on the roster right now. It is currently Alain Badeau. But if he does lose this fight, he and Alain Badeau will probably get matched up, and they will compete to see who is the worst UFC heavyweight on the roster. I think it's pretty close right now between Chase Sherman and Alain Badeau. It was Hunsucker, but Hunsucker did go down to light heavyweight there. But yeah, Vanderaa, 30 years old, 6'4" with an 80-inch reach. Sherman, 32 years old, 6'4" with a 78-inch reach. Vanderaa, 2 years younger, same height, and then Vanderaa is going to have a 2-inch reach advantage. Vanderaa is 1-4 in his last 5 fights. Knockout loss against Sergey Spivak. Decision win against Justin Tafa. A knockout loss against Alexander Romanov. A decision loss to to Andre Arlovsky, and then a submission loss against Alexei Oleinik. I know that was your ass shame of the week, and I also cashed a Oleinik first round sub prop. That was awesome. Thank you, Jared Vanderaa, for that. Chase Sherman is 1-4 in his last 5 fights. We had Ike Villanueva knockout win, and that was I want to talk about this week. That was a win where he popped for something, right? He popped for some PEDs, right, or something, and they didn't overturn it. Do you remember hearing about that?
Yeah, I do remember that because I remember he went in there with some back knee that was just, I mean, popping. I was like, whoa, look at the back knee on Chase Sherman. And then, of course, he popped for some kind of steroids. But, yeah, I don't know why they wouldn't have overturned that. You know, yeah. Todd Stout smokes a joint, and they overturn a submission win to a loss. And this guy gets to keep a win after roiding up. So I don't know what happened there. It might have been something that fell on the line with the USADA, and maybe because it was COVID, they weren't fully testing or something. I don't know what, but
I don't know, man. But that was the best Chase Sherman ever looked. I mean, he made that appearance after being cut from the UFC previously the first time, and then he comes against Ike Villanueva, and I thought like there was a resurgence potentially coming. Then he pops for that, and then he's on a 4-fight skid now, man. Loses to Arlovsky by decision, loses to Parker Porter, gets submitted by Jake Collier, and then gets submitted by Alexander Romanov. I mean, like I said, I mean, this is the bottom of the barrel here. In terms of how this fight goes, Vanderaa supposedly is a black belt in BJJ. Showed it off in his last fight against Alexei Oleinik. I like his volume. I like Vandera's volume quite a bit. Chase Sherman with some volume in his own right. I like his cardio. I think cardio is probably the biggest factor in this fight for me. Chase Sherman has about 4 minutes of cardio, whereas Vanderaa showed he could go 15 minutes. I like that. On top of that, Jared Vanderaa paints his toenails black. I like that as well. And then if Jared Vanderaa does get the fight down to the mat, I think the fight will be shortly after. The problem is Vanderaa has only attempted one takedown in the UFC Contender Series combined, and he got that takedown against Harry Hunsucker. If I knew for a fact that Jared Vanderaa would come out here and get the fight down to the mat, I would max bet Jared Vanderaa in this fight. One takedown, the fight's over. Chase Sherman's ground game is some of the worst you'll ever see. Romanov ran right through him. No shame in that. Jake Collier ran right through him on the mat. There is some shame in that. Jake Collier submitted him. Didn't even look like the choke was in at all. He just tapped. Vanderaa, black belt. Vanderaa actually has very good ground and pound. He showed it off in the Hunsucker fight. Finished him on the mat, and even outside the UFC, when he gets on top, he's very dangerous, but only one takedown attempt in 6 fights. I don't like that. So if Vanderaa wrestles like the fight, like he's going to look like a massive favorite. If he does not wrestle like he has been, and if this fight does go and it's striking for a long extended period of time, I think it's competitive early on, but I think as the fight goes on, Vanderaa should be able to easily take over with the cardio. Both guys extremely hittable. Chase Sherman, like the definition of blocking punches with your face, and he actually has a 51% striking defense. Vanderaa striking defense is worse at 44%. I do think Vanderaa is a little bit more defensively responsible, and only saying that because Sherman has like 0 defense. If you're rating his defense from a 0 to 10, it's at a 0. This is a fight where I feel like Jared Vanderaa should win this fight very easily, but I also feel like it could get a little sketchy. Weezy, how do you feel about this one here?
I feel sick. I mean, this is not a good fight. It's not a good fight at all. But you just got to believe that Jared Vanderaa is the better mixed martial artist here. Chase Sherman keeps fights on the feet. He tries to knock people out. He's never submitted anybody. He's never attempted a takedown, and he's never attempted a submission in the UFC. So he's a very one-dimensional fighter. And prior to the Fat Collier fight, the dude had like 93% takedown defense. And then all of a sudden, it's like Collier, who hadn't attempted a takedown in like 3 or 4 fights, shot one takedown, wound up in mount, and finished the fight. I mean, it just goes to show you that this guy, Chase, did have good takedown defense in the UFC prior to getting taken down by Fat Collier. But when he's on the ground, man, he is a fish out of water. He is truly helpless down there. But we got a guy in Jared Vanderaa, who's attempted one takedown in 6 fights, and he's a black belt. So, I mean, clearly a guy that's, look, if you've ever heard Jared string together 3 or 4 words, he's not a member of Mensa. Okay. To count on somebody like that to make good decisions, I don't think you can, but I don't even think he'd be overmatched here in a striking battle. I think he's probably just as good of a striker as Chase Sherman because of the cardio, because of the toughness. He can rely on his chin. But Chase Sherman is so bad, dude. I can't believe I picked him to shave ass against Fat Collier. You know, I mean that's the dictionary definition of fading a bad fighter with another bad fighter. You know, and I was absolutely guilty of that. But that was a real eye opener. You get submitted by Fat Collier. I mean that got him cut. I mean that's like. Fat Collier subs you get cut. That's the progression. But, you know, they needed an opponent for Romanov because no one picks up the phone to fight Alexander Romanov, and that one went exactly like we would expect it to go. You know, and even with Oleinik, right, Jared was making some decent decisions on the ground. I mean, it's just Oleinik is a guy that's just so good down there that all it takes is one thing, and he got him in that scarf hold and it was over immediately. But Vanderaa did a decent job of, you know, not only trying to stop the takedowns, but staying on top. It was just that once Alexei got that deep half, he wound up getting the single leg, getting on top, and then that's all it takes. So Chase Sherman isn't submitting anybody. Fight ends in KO. Probably a pretty good bet here in order to get a better line than the fight doesn't go to decision. But it's 1-800-GAMBLER. I think Vanderaa should win this. What is Vanderaa favored? What's the line on him?
Vanderaa, and by the way, we don't even know if this fight's going to happen yet. We need Vanderaa to clear concussion protocols first. But the line is Vanderaa opened up -200. He's now -180, and Sherman opened up +170, and he is currently +155.
But don't they? I mean, they know that he has a perpetual concussion, right? I mean,
oh yeah,
it's just there. It's been there his entire life. So I don't know why they would stop him from fighting with something that he's had clearly for his entire life. But Brady, it's just so bad. And then the next fight, dude, look, Vanderaa, Sherman, Pickett, Tiuliulin, Calvillo, Nunes. What's the other one? Shevchenko, Casey. How are these 4 fights in front of Lawrence Kocharmonov? We need to riot. We need to trash this fucking place if these guys wind up fighting ahead of Lawrence and Kocharmonov. That's one of the best fights of the entire month. And it's behind Shevchenko, Casey. It's behind Chase Sherman. It's behind a Chase Sherman fight.
Yeah, I mean,
how does that make sense?
Doesn't.
I'm trying to come up with an analogy to explain to you guys how terrible this is, that you could actually put mixed martial artists of the quality of Chase Sherman and Jared Vanderaa in front of guys like Ronnie Lawrence and Said Yakub Kocharmonov. I mean, are we going to have like, you know, I was going to say like a really bad comedian open up for like, you know, or the really good comedian opens up for the really bad comedian. You know, it doesn't make any sense. I don't know why that fight would be the first fight on the card, but maybe the infinite wisdom of the UFC, they've got something for us, and this winds up being the fight of the year, but I don't think so, man. And then we get to move on to Pickett against Tiuliulin.
Yeah, like my concern is not only is this fight on the main card, but it feels like it shouldn't be in the UFC. Like it feels like this is like a street beast fight. Like it feels like it should be in a backyard, not in the UFC. It's not good. And I think Vanderaa should win, but just laying -180 on Vanderaa, I don't know if I can get there, man. I really don't. I feel like I said, if I knew for a fact that he come out here and he'd get the fight down to the mat, I'd probably max bet it. I think his ground game is good, and I think he should use it in this fight. But I could also see a scenario where he goes out there and just stands and bang with Sherman for 15 minutes, and I still favor him to do that as well. But I don't know. The fight goes to decision is +145. The fight doesn't go to decision, -185. Over under 2.5. The over 2.5 -110. The under 2.5 is -120. I don't know. I feel like
the time props look like they're priced right where they should be because we've got a decent sample size of Sherman and Vanderaa fights, 18 of them, and they're priced right where the divisional finish rates say they should be priced and right where the combined finishes inside the distance in their UFC fights, it should be priced. So it's just a stay away. And just picture this, dude. Let's say you bet Vanderaa, and then you see Chase Sherman get his hand raised at the end of the fight. I would puke. I would just puke because I'd be like, I just bet on this fight and lost money. I lost units on Vanderaa Sherman. I would puke.
Terrible. I don't bet fights like these no more. I retired from it, and it feels good.
Yeah.
Feels good. But my goodness, man. My goodness. I can't. You thought that fight was bad. Getting out of tape for this fight, I said 3 words. Can you guess what those 3 words were, Weezy?
Ja, help us.
Close. What the fuck? I mean, this is bad. This is worse than the Sherman Vanderaa fight. We have Jamie Pickett. He's 33 years old, 6'2", with an 80-inch reach. Denis Tiuliulin, he is 34 years old, 6'1", with a 77-inch reach. Jamie Pickett, 1 year younger, 1-inch height advantage, and a 3-inch reach advantage. Jamie Pickett, 2-3 in his last 5 fights, a decision loss to Tafon Nzechukwu, a knockout loss against Jordan Wright, the Beverly Hills Ninja, a decision win against Laureano Staropoli, a decision win against Ugly Man Joseph Holmes, and then a submission loss to Kyle Dawkins. Denis Tiuliulin made his debut against Kisraev, and that was your ass shaving of the week, Uncle Weezy. Lost that fight by submission. I will say he did somewhat impress me. I thought his takedown defense looked a lot better than I expected. I thought his submission defense held up and up until that second round, and Kisraev was able to take him down in that second round and submit him there. But this fight is rough, man, because you have Jamie Pickett, who has fought the better competition. Jamie Pickett, the more experienced fighter. Jamie Pickett is a guy that doesn't throw anything. I mean, some of the worst volume I ever see out of Jamie Pickett, 2.89 significant strikes landed per minute for Jamie Pickett. Brown belt and BJJ apparently. And maybe he uses that here. Denis Tiuliulin, a guy that I actually went through and watched like 6 of this guy's fights. And his takedown defense doesn't look great. His get-up game doesn't look great. His ground game doesn't look great. It did look improved in the Kisraev fight, but still, could Jamie Pickett take advantage of that? I don't know if he does, maybe. But on the feet, I feel like Tiuliulin's going to have a more willingness to do things. And I feel like Tiuliulin is more dangerous. He has good knees. He has good power. He throws with a ton of power. I like that. So really, I mean, I just, laying minus 160 on Jamie Pickett against anybody in the UFC just feels like a horrible idea. This guy, he's another guy that's athletically gifted. He has a good height, good reach, but I just don't think the skills all that there. Doesn't throw any volume. Brown belt and BJJ doesn't really use it. I think it's a clear dog or pass for me with Tiuliulin here, just because I feel like he's going to do more, but I don't think Tiuliulin's that great as well. So, and Bootsy agrees with me here on the Tiuliulin side. Give me a dog or pass here for Tiuliulin, but I'd be shocked if I bet this fight, to be honest. Weezy, how do you feel about this banger?
I feel sick. I wish I didn't have to say it already or earlier, but I do. I feel a little bit sick. I feel like I might throw up. God, I mean, Tiuliulin's fun to watch, I guess. 89% knockout rate in 9 fights. So he's the better finisher here. These guys are getting finished, at the UFC level, and their 6 combined losses. They've been finished in 4 of them. God damn it. I hate this fight, dude. I hate this fight. I don't really think I'm even going to tape this fight because you can't. Dude, Jamie Pickett fights are terrible, dude.
Oh, they're awful.
That Joseph Holmes fight was god-awful. That Laureano Staropoli fight was one of the worst fights I've ever seen in my life, and I'm never watching it again. And he lost to Nzechukwu, he lost to Jordan Wright. He got subbed by Dawkins in the first, with 1 second left. And at least Tiuliulin's been in there with some studs, At least he's fought Ikram Aliskerov. At least he's fought Iliashkab Kisraev. And I had a max bet on Kisraev, because I couldn't believe he wasn't minus 2,000 in that fight. I got him at like minus 310, and I'm like, well, that's my first max bet of the year. But yeah, Tiuliulin should be the more dangerous guy. What would be an interesting one, I think, is a potential Tiuliulin finish only prop. Even though Pickett's pretty durable, Pickett just doesn't do anything, man. And even when he looks like he could be the better striker, he seems kind of happy to just try to win some minutes up against the cage. I mean, this guy's he's got 8 UFC fights, Brady, if you include the Contender Series. Would you have ever thought we would have ever gotten to that amount of fights for Jamie Pickett? I wouldn't have.
No.
But he's still here, and why wouldn't he just try to get those win checks? Cash them while you can, man. Yeah, let's just move on, dude. Tiuliulin, I guess, is the pick.
Yeah, I mean, they might make me bet on Tiuliulin, man. I mean, this line makes no sense. Jamie Pickett, he opened up -175. He's currently -175. Denis Tiuliulin opened up +150, current +150. How can Jamie Pickett be favorite here when he's going to go out there and just do nothing?
Hold people against the fence, throw 5 significant strike attempts per minute. At least in the Tiuliulin-Kisraev fight, Tiuliulin threw more strikes than Kisraev did. So at least he's trying, at least he's doing something. We got 2 guys that do nothing on this card, Aiemann Zahabi and Jamie Pickett. And it's hard to lay juice when your fighter is inactive and you're looking to win a moment, and they really haven't won a lot of moments.
Yeah, I mean, we'll see. I feel like I can't believe this is an actual fight, but it is, and we broke it down.
A main card fight.
Oh,
just let that sink in. This is on the main card. Why? How? What happened?
I don't know. I don't know. But wasn't Jamie Pickett like in a co-main event with Dawkins though? Like his last fight?
Was that a co-main?
I think it was. We're very close.
Yikes, dude. What card was that? Jesus. Did we show up that week?
Mm-hmm. Oh, we always show up.
I know we always show up, but I mean, I think I might have actually repressed that memory.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, we'd show up if Tiuliulin was the main event, sadly.
We would. We'd be here breaking it down for all you guys on Pub Sports Radio like we do every Sunday.
Absolutely. But yeah, that was rough. Those 2 fights were rough, man. We have 3 fights left, and luckily 3 really good fights.
Yeah.
Said Nurmagomedov going against Douglas Silva de Andrade. Nurmagomedov, 30 years old, 5'8" with a 70-inch reach. De Andrade, 37 years old, 5'7" with a 68-inch reach. Nurmagomedov, 7 years younger, 1-inch height advantage and a 2-inch reach advantage as well. So tailor tape advantage definitely in favor of Nurmagomedov. He's going to be 7 years younger. I think that's key there. And then, Douglas Silva de Andrade, although he is 37 years old, he went out there and put on a insane fight in his last fight against it was Sergey Morozov. We saw go out there and beat Paiva in his last fight. But Morozov, I thought Morozov was going to finish this guy in the very first round. Morozov hurt him very bad. And then Douglas Silva de Andrade just destroyed this dude in the second round, dropped him twice, hurt him very bad, and eventually finished him by submission. Very fun fight there. And he was doing that at 37 years old at 135 pounds. Like this guy's a dog. Nurmagomedov, he's 4-1 in his last 5 fights. He made his debut, I believe it was against, was it Scoggins? Was that Contender Series or that was his debut?
No, I think the Scoggins fight was the debut.
Okay, made his debut against Scoggins, won by decision. Won by knockout against Ricardo Ramos. Decision loss against Ronnie Barcelos. A knockout win against Mark Striegel. And then a submission win against Cody Stamann. De Andrade, 3-2 in his last 5 fights as well. Yeah, I mean, I think this should be a really good fight. Both these guys are strikers. When you take a look at Nurmagomedov, you think that, hey, he might come out here and grapple, but that's just not going to be the case. He's attempted 14 takedowns, which you do like to see, but he's only landed 1 of them for a 7% takedown accuracy. I don't really see either guy going for and getting takedowns in this fight. I do think it does primarily stay standing. And when it is standing, I do favor Nurmagomedov there. Not only is he going to have a 2-inch reach advantage, a height advantage, and an age advantage, I really like his strike. And this guy's flashy on the feet, spinning attacks left and right, spinning back fists, spinning back kicks to the body. He knocked out Ricardo Ramos with a spinning back kick to the body, hurt him bad, finished him there. Just really flashy on the feet. Whereas Andrade, this guy's going to throw, and he's going to throw very, very hard. Very exciting fighter. And I think it's a very exciting fight. So, Weezy, what do you think about this fight here?
Yeah, nice size advantage for Nurmagomedov, and he's 7 years younger, but a big experience advantage for De Andrade. 16 more fights, about 25 more minutes in the pro cage, almost 3 more years as a pro, 5 more UFC level fights, about 80 more minutes in the UFC cage. Big finish rates for De Andrade here. 78% as a pro. For Nurmagomedov, it's 54%. Nurmagomedov's never been finished. Silva de Andrade's been finished twice in 4 losses, but the guys who finished him, Peter Yan's one of them, and I don't remember who the other one was, but it's like top 5 guy. It might have been Rob Font, but I forget. So De Andrade actually absorbs more than he lands, but he's showing sick power for a bantamweight. 6 knockdowns in 10 UFC fights for Douglas Silva De Andrade, and he's only been knocked down once. So definitely a big power advantage on the feet for Douglas Silva. Nurmagomedov 1 knockdown in his 5 UFC fights. Saeed, with the Nurmagomedov name, you would expect him to have gotten more control time to do more with wrestling, but really he is a striker first, but he's very well-rounded. Look, Saeed can do it all. You go back and watch the regional scene footage. He's fighting in Russia. You have to grapple in order to be successful in Russia, and he's doing that. He's winning minutes with his grappling as well as with his distance striking. Very unorthodox, a lot of spinning shit, and he uses his length well. Neither one of these guys really wins a lot of minutes with the grappling here. They both seem to prefer to stand. But if there's one person that's more likely to go to the grappling, I would say that that's Nurmagomedov. If we look at the strength of schedule, it actually leans Nurmagomedov in the ratio, but Silva is fighting the more experienced competition. The wins better in ratio for Nurmagomedov, more experienced competition for De Andrade. The loss is a little bit better for De Andrade. It's a great fight. I think Saeed will probably be the better minute winner everywhere. And with Silva, you really kind of need to look for the power, the big shot, the trajectory changing fight, because he's going to be the smaller guy here. He's going to be the older guy here. He's the guy who definitely commits less to the wrestling, and he doesn't really win minutes at all in the wrestling. And in addition to that, Brady, he absorbs more significant strikes than he lands, and he actually gets out-volumed by his opponents as well. So Saeed should be the better minute winner because he throws way more volume than his opponents do. He lands twice as many significant strikes per minute than his opponents do. And he's throwing with his own power as well, but attempting 3 takedowns per fight, while Silva De Andrade is only attempting 1 takedown per fight. So, it's a great fight, but I think I gotta lean Saeed Nurmagomedov, and I would pick him to win by decision because Silva De Andrade's got some serious dog in him, and you need to basically kill him to get him out of there.
Yep, lean the exact same way there. Saeed Nurmagomedov by decision. We take a look at the odds. Nurmagomedov opened up plus 225, currently plus 240. Andrade opened up plus 190, currently plus 205. Maybe the Nurmagomedov tax, because I feel like this could play out a little bit closer than that. I feel like Andrade is definitely no joke. He does hit with a ton of power, but yeah, I like Nurmagomedov here. I think he's going to be the minute winner for the most part. I love the flashy attacks there, the spinning attacks, and yeah, I think he does get it done there. The fight goes to decision plus 130. The fight goes to decision is plus 130. The fight doesn't go to decision is minus 170. The over 2.5 is plus 110. The under 2.5 rounds is minus 140. Any thoughts on the money line? Any thoughts on these props?
Okay, 50% of bantamweight 3-round fights go to decision. We're only paying 43.48% here. And in their 15 combined fights at the UFC level between De Andrade and his opponent, we've only had 7 of them go to decision. So that's 46.7%. That's actually 3.2% more than the implied probability of the line. And they go to decision just a little bit less than the division does as a whole. But I kind of like that plus number because in these guys' losses, only 2 of 5 of them have been inside the distance, and 6 of 10 of them of the wins have been inside the distance. The fight goes at plus money is actually kind of interesting here.
Yeah, that's interesting as well. Yeah, I like it. I like it. See here. What is Nurmagomedov by decision? What? Nurmagomedov by decision is plus 250. That's interesting. And he's minus 240 on the money line.
And you gotta love that because this is the guy, you can just see it in the numbers who the minute winner is here. Nurmagomedov commits more to the wrestling. He throws way more significant strike attempts per minute than his opponents do. He lands twice as many significant strikes per minute than his opponents do. And he's got a 2-inch reach advantage, a 1-inch height advantage. He's 7 years younger. And Douglas Silva de Andrade is listed at 5'7". I wouldn't be surprised if he was a little bit shorter than that. Kind of looks like a pocket Hercules, right? And we've talked about bad hair. Let's not forget, Silva de Andrade's been sporting a rat tail for like the last 10 years. I mean, that's really bad, dude. You don't wear rat tails. Not in you don't wear rat tails. It has nothing to do with 2022. It's just a bad fashion statement. It's a terrible look. So got to keep that in mind. I think I'm going Saeed by decision. If better than plus 200, I might be calling my name, man.
I like it. Of course, it's on 5 dimes, so we probably won't get that. But yeah, that stuck out. And hey, I think he pulls off the rat tail quite nice. I think if anybody can pull it off, I think it might be Andrade, right? So I think we give him a little bit of credit, but overall, I do agree with you, Weezy. All right,
I
guys,
wouldn't tell him to his face that it sucks, and I'm much bigger than him, but I would never tell him to his face that it sucks. But I will tell our audience on Pub Sports Radio that your Uncle Weezy does not support the rat tail.
There we go. I like it. I like it. I like it. So we'll move on. We have 246 of you in here. If you all can please hit the like button. If you have not, let's try to get 100 likes by the time we get out of here. We have 2 fights to break down, and yeah, 2 of the best fights of the night. We have the co-main event. We have Caio going against Armen. Petrosyan. We have Borralho, who's 29 years old, 5'10" with a 75-inch reach. Petrosyan, 31 years old, 6'3" with a 71-inch reach. It's going to be Borralho, who is 29 years old, who's 2 years younger. He's going to have a 5-inch height disadvantage, but he's going to have a 4-inch reach advantage here. Borralho is 5-0 in his last 5 fights. He did make his debut against Omar Gadziev and won that fight by decision. He had that kind of the weird strike in that 3rd round. The fight ended up going to decision. They scored the fight from there, ended up winning it. Prior to that, knockout, decision, 5-0 in his last 5 fights. Petrosyan, he has 4-1 in his last 5 fights. He made his debut against Gregory Rodriguez, won that fight by split decision, which is a really good win. And then prior to that, he did get a knockout win on the Contender Series here. So yeah, this is a fight where I think Borralho's extremely well-rounded. I believe he's a black belt in BJJ even, and he showed off his ground game in his last fight against Omar Gadziev, who a lot of people expected Omar Gadziev to take down Caio Borralho and control him. It was actually the other way around. Borralho was able to get him down multiple times and control him, which was extremely impressive. And then on top of that, his striking is very good. He has a lot of power as well. Really like what I see from Borralho here. Armen Petrosyan, he's more of just a striker, really, and a really good striker with a ton of power. The problem with Petrosyan is his takedown defense sitting at 37%. I really expected Rodriguez to go in there and wrestle this guy early on. It kind of waited till like the 2nd round, the 3rd round to finally do that. And when Rodriguez did, he took him down. Petrosyan literally has no takedown defense whatsoever. And I feel like Borralho is going to have a good opportunity to get this fight down to the mat early and often, use that wrestling, use that grappling, and control the fight. And then on the feet, I probably do have to favor Petrosyan here, although I think it's going to be very close. Petrosyan's striking is absolutely no joke, but Borralho is a good striker in his own right with a lot of power in his own right as well. But yeah, I think the takedown route is going to be the answer here. I think Borralho has a clear path to victory. Petrosyan gets taken down in every single fight, and he gets taken down with 0 resistance. I will say his get-up game's pretty good, but you take a look at his fights outside the UFC, when he's winning fights, he's getting taken down multiple times. He's getting controlled. His opponents gas out, and then he ends up knocking him out. Like, that's how every Petrosyan fight goes. I don't think Borralho's going to gas out, and I feel like he has, much better wrestling and grappling than some of these other guys outside the UFC that Petrosyan did beat. So, yeah, man, I really like Caio Borralho in this fight. The thing I don't like, though, is wish I would have got a jump in on this tape a little bit earlier, because Borralho's line is getting smashed as we speak, and I think it's only going to continue to get smashed, and I think it's because the path to victory is absolutely there for him. So, Weezy, I know you're pretty high on Borralho yourself. How do you feel about this fight?
I'm very high on Caio Borralho. I think that he's definitely one of the best prospects in this entire division. Love the striking, serious power in both hands, has a karate style. It's very difficult to deal with, very light on his feet, very bouncy. He throws great kicks. This guy's trained Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu for the last 8 years with Damian Maia personally. You saw Omar Gadziev go for a leg lock and get nowhere close to it. This guy Borralho is next level on the ground. And like I say, he's got a serious amount of power on the feet. And then, oh my God, fight IQ for days for this kid. Outside of the illegal knee against Omar Gadziev, and if you go back and you watch that illegal knee, Omar Gadziev's got the backhand down. And Omar Gadziev's an extremely smart fighter. If you go back and you watch that fight, he's making, even when Caio was landing shots, he's making all the right decisions. Very savvy, going for leg locks, getting takedowns again. He got a takedown against Borralho, and Borralho immediately swept him. That was just a very, very impressive performance by Caio Borralho against a really good fighter in Omar Gadzhiev. And Caio Borralho lies about his height. He's not 5'10". Omar Gadzhiev was listed at 6'1", and Caio Borralho was 3 inches taller than him. So I don't know what his height is, but I would say that even if Omar Gadzhiev lied about his height by about 3 inches, I would say that Borralho is probably at least 6'1", 6'2". So he's not going to be much smaller than Petrosyan here. And he's got the 4-inch reach advantage. But Petrosyan's an excellent striker. And, he came out in Russia fighting some really good fighters, some really good grapplers. And like you say, when you're coming out of Russia, your grappling has been tested. And he came out of Russia 6-1. So other than the loss to I forget what the guy's name was, but he got knocked out in the first round. The guy's been on a run, and he's a very good striker. But you saw somebody like Gregory Rodriguez attempt no takedowns, or he attempted one takedown, got one takedown, and just didn't do anything with it. Got his back though. If Caio Borralho gets this dude's back, it's over. That's the difference between a Brazilian like Borralho and the Russian wrestlers that this guy Petrosyan has seen. The Russian wrestlers are control guys. They don't get submissions. If you go to the ground with Caio, you're probably going to sleep, and you might get knocked out on the feet too. This would have been a max bet for me had I got there early. If I wasn't a content creator who was doing content 6 days a week and I got out ahead of this would have been an easy max bet. I think Caio down the road, probably in 3 years, will be fighting for a belt. I don't think there are really any weak spots in his game. I think he's going to be kicking dudes' asses, and the well-roundedness and the ability to be able to make good decisions in the cage, it's all there. Gotta like Caio Borralho here. I think he's going to take the path of least resistance. Don't have to worry about him pulling a Sean Strickland and stand in front of this guy for 15 minutes. He's going to wrestle. He's going to use his clinch. He's going to use all the parts of his mixed martial arts game in order to get the win here. But if he gets this win, it's a big one because this kid Petrosyan's fucking good.
Yeah, his striking's really, really good. A lot of power, but the path is there. The path is there all day. And yeah, I feel like if he gets the fight down to the mat, there very well could be a finish. Borralho's ground game is no joke. Yeah, I like it, man. We see Borralho opened up minus 300. Yeah. Minus 300, and that line went to minus 135. He was sitting at minus 140 for a little over a week. Over a week. I would have loved it there. Went to minus 145, went to minus 150, and just recently went to minus 175 6 days ago. We see that Petrosyan opened up a big dog, plus 250, and is currently sitting at plus 150. I still do like it at minus 175. Obviously would have loved that minus 150 area, but yeah, I feel like he could look like a huge favorite here if he does take that path of least resistance, and I have no reason to see why he doesn't. I mean, he went out there and, like I said, a lot of people thought that it would be Omar Gadzhiev that was taking down Borralho. It was the other side around. It was Borralho taking down Gadzhiev and doing really good doing so. So, yeah, I like Borralho here. In terms of like the fight goes or doesn't go, the fight goes is plus 155. The fight doesn't go is minus 195. I guess I could see Borralho winning a decision. But I could also see a finish here. And if Petrosyan wins, it's probably by knockout. Petrosyan inside the distance plus 235. Borralho inside the distance plus 150. Petrosyan by decision plus 520. And then Borralho by decision plus 265. Any props sticking out, Weezy? Any thoughts on the money line? What do you like in here?
The Caio Borralho money line is, I mean, it's getting steamed, but like there's hype on this kid for a reason, and he's the more well-rounded fighter here. But in terms of playing the time props here, Caio is finishing at a 63% rate, so it's not savagery or anything like that. It's Armen that's finishing, 6 of his 7 wins inside the distance. The only one he didn't finish was against Rodriguez, and that was a very close fight. But yeah, I really do believe that Borralho gets the job done here. But I don't I think he can get it done inside the distance. I think he can win a decision. I would just bet that money line.
Yep, I'm right there with you. I could see either one of those there. But yeah, next we have the next fight. So the main event, and a very good main event as well. Rafael Dos Anjos going against Rafael Fiziev, and me and Uncle Weezy will be doing a main event deep dive on Tuesday, not Monday. Tomorrow is the 4th of July. Going to take the day off there, come back Tuesday on the MMA Engine YouTube channel, and we're going to be taking a deep dive into this. And by then, we should have all the props out on DraftKings, FanDuel, all those as well. So make sure you check us out there on Tuesday. But yeah, Rafael Dos Anjos going against Rafael Fiziev. Dos Anjos, 37 years old, 5'8" with a 70-inch reach, 29 years old, 5'8" with a 71-inch reach. Fiziev is going to be 8 years younger. That's significant. And then Fiziev is also going to have a 1-inch reach advantage. Rafael Dos Anjos, he is 3-2 in his last 5 fights, a submission win against Kevin Lee, a decision loss against Leon Edwards, a decision loss against Michael Chiesa, a decision win against Paul Felder, and then a decision win against Renato Moicano in his last fight out. Looked phenomenal, even at 37 years old. Fiziev, 5-0 in his last 5 fights, a decision win against Alex White, a decision win against Mark Diakese, a knockout win against Renato Moicano, a decision win against Bobby Green, and then a knockout win against Brad Riddell his last time out. Yeah, this fight should be very fun. We have Rafael Dos Anjos, who has a ton of experience in general, but a ton of 5-round experience even. I'm curious to see what Fiziev does look like in this. We talked about his last fight. I forget who was supposed to fight. I think he was supposed to fight. Did we break down this fight before, Weezy? I can't remember.
This was supposed to happen already, and then Dos Anjos wound up fighting Moicano, who stepped in for Fiziev. Did he? I feel like Moicano might have stepped in like a week before, and we might have broken down that fight instead of this one. This was always one where I was just feeling like, man, the fact that this is 5 rounds changes everything for me.
Yeah, I remember that being a big talking point, like that 5 rounds for Fiziev, because he's a guy that slows down in that 3rd round a lot. Like there's multiple times, the Bobby Green fight, the Alex White fight, the Diakese fight. This guy's slowing down in that 3rd round. And as we know, RDA does not slow down. But yeah, this fight should be good. RDA has the grappling in his back pocket. Fiziev has done a very good job at stuffing takedowns, stuffing 21 out of 22 takedowns. This fight's going to be fun, man. What do you think about this one?
I think it's a great fight. You know, it's one of these stylistic matchups. Do you favor the striking, the youth of Fiziev, or do you favor the experience and the conditioning and the well-rounded mixed martial arts game that Rafael Dos Anjos has, in addition to the fact that this dude has fought everybody on the face of the planet. He's fought some of the toughest dudes to ever step into the cage. So it's such a good main event. But we've seen it over and over and over again. The cardio got better in the Riddell fight, because I believe it was the 3rd round when he knocked out Riddell, right?
Yes.
Yeah. And then even in the Green fight, you know, Green won that 3rd round, and I had a bet on Green round 3, and he was landing some big shots. I think I got it like 38-1 or 40-1. And I was like, come on, Green, finish that. But I've faded this dude in the 3rd round before, and now he's fighting a guy that puts on a horrific pace in the 4th round, in the 5th round. You saw what he did to Moicano. We need to see what happens when somebody truly commits to the grappling against Fiziev, because he's had people shoot takedowns on him, but other than Alex White, who I think shot a ton of takedowns, you know, nobody on Dos Anjos' level has been, you know, really trying to commit to the grappling against Fiziev. So this is going to be interesting. It's going to be a big challenge. And if Rafi goes to it early and often, those arms are going to fill up with blood, and it's going to make Fiziev a lot less dangerous later on in the fight if we put a pace on him early, which is what Rafi's going to do. So it's a great stylistic matchup, man. Do you favor the striking of Fiziev, the grappling of Dos Anjos, the youth and the explosiveness of Fiziev, or that, you know, strength of schedule, and, you know, for Dos Anjos, and that great conditioning, the ability to be able to fight for a full 5 rounds. He's done it so many times already. This will be Fiziev's first time fighting 5. So I gotta lean Dos Anjos here.
Yeah, I mean, Dos Anjos has been knocked out, like, has it been once or twice?
It's so 11 UFC losses, 27%. So that's 3 times In 31 UFC fights, he's been knocked out.
And then those knockout losses come against Eddie Alvarez. That was in the first round. It came against, I think Jeremy Stevens back in UFC 91, back in 2008.
Wow.
And then that was the two UFC knockouts. I think the other one was prior to the UFC. I mean, I think if Fiziev does not knock him out in the first 3 rounds, like what does the fight look like in the 4th and the 5th? Like I would heavily favor Rafael Dos Anjos in that 4th and 5th round there. You mentioned the pace, you mentioned the cardio. And then, yeah, a good talking point to bring up is, yes, Fiziev has a 95% takedown defense, but he has a 95% takedown defense against Alex White, Mark Diakese, Bobby Green, Brad Riddell, Renato Moicano, and Moicano got knocked down that first round. Magomed Mustafayev, which he got knocked out by Mustafayev in that first round in a minute. So, I mean, yeah, I feel like RDA has a good opportunity here. I know he's 37 years old, but my goodness, the guy looked good in his last fight. So, I do want to talk about the line. Like this line, I don't know. I mean, I get there's a lot of hype on Fiziev. He's a really good striker, but I feel like we are counting out RDA a little bit. I mean, RDA's fought the who's who. He's a ton more experience. He's well-rounded, great cardio, good striking, great grappling, good wrestling. I feel like we're counting him out a little bit here. Fiziev opened up minus 200, currently minus 205. Rafael Dos Anjos opened up plus 170, and he's currently plus 175. If this was a 3-round fight, sure. I don't hate that. I don't hate Fiziev there. But 5 rounds just makes it a little bit more interesting because, again, we've seen Fiziev slow down in the 3rd round before multiple times, whereas RDA is going to not slow down. So any thoughts on that line, Weezy? I feel like it's a tad wide there.
Yeah, it is. And the fact that it's 5 rounds changes everything because, in 25 minutes, I mean, we've really only seen Fiziev give us a good 12 minutes, 11 minutes in some cases. RDA pushes a pace and he can grapple too. So we're going to see that side of Fiziev's game tested like we've never seen it before. But, you got to keep in mind that Rafi's 37 and Fiziev is not, and that this guy is a very, very special talent on the feet. Really good power. But the thing is that style that he's fought for his entire career. It's a great 3-round style. Swing heavy with a ton of power, counter, look for those big shots. But you can't throw 100% power into all of your strikes and expect to do it for 25 consecutive minutes. It's just not how the human body works. So Dos Anjos is definitely much better suited to go the full 5 rounds and to mix the martial arts. And Fiziev is going to have a difficult time keeping up with that pace if he's counted on to grapple about half the time. And if we look at the stats here, Brady, for Dos Anjos, and this is over a 31 fight sample size and 450 minutes in the UFC cage. So we can count on these numbers having statistical significance. 27.2% control time for, 21.8% control time against. So of the 453 minutes that Dos Anjos has spent in the UFC cage, he's spending just under 50% of that time in control time positions. What percent is Fiziev in control time positions for and against? Over a 6-fight sample size, it's 10%. So he's going to spend 5 times more time in control time positions if it goes like every other Rafael Dos Anjos fight in this fight. And it's a 5-round fight. The extra 2 rounds and the willingness to grapple and the gas tank to push that pace is, I think, what makes Rafael Dos Anjos very dangerous in this fight.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. I think there's some interesting ways to play it. Like, first off, I mean, this is a clear dog or pass for me. RDA sitting at plus 195 on DraftKings. That's tempting. But yeah, if you like Fiziev, the finish only is probably a decent look. Fiziev inside the distance is plus 220. If you like RDA by decision is kind of where I lean, plus 385. My goodness. That's interesting as well. The decision only for RDA could be interesting. I think there's a couple different ways to play this. The fight goes decision, minus 145. The fight doesn't go decision, plus 105. Anything sticking out from a prop perspective that you like, Weezy?
Okay, so remember 2 weeks ago when we were talking about the Gamrot fight, and I actually bet fight doesn't go to decision. I had it in my greasy 4-legger. 72% of 5-round 155-pound fights have finished inside the distance at the UFC in the UFC since 2013. So we're getting at plus money a below 50% implied probability when the benchmark is over 70% for these fights finishing inside the distance. Add to that Fiziev has never been 5 rounds, and that Fiziev kicks like an absolute mule and could knock out anybody on the planet if he lands his shot. I could see Fiziev getting a finish. I could see Rafael Dos Anjos getting a finish or a submission. So plus money for a 5-round fight, in the lightweight division to not go to decision is almost an auto bet via the analytics. And even though I lost the last one in the Gamrot Sarukian fight, the way those two dudes came out in the first round, I was pretty convinced that was going to cash too. But both of those guys have got tremendous gas tanks and a ton of heart. So it wound up being a very close fight too. So where neither one of them had major moments or really had the other one in major trouble. So it wound up going the full 5 rounds. But I think I'll be again on the fight doesn't go to decision line, because if I'm getting plus money for a benchmark over a very large sample size that's saying that these things finish inside the distance over 70% of the time, that's something I'm going to have to be riding with.
Yeah, and I think I might join you there. I mean, you take a look at the matchup stylistically, and it makes sense as well. Fiziev, I think he's very live for a knockout. I mean, this fight plays on the feet. This guy's power is no joke. I could see him knocking out RDA early. If the fight gets extended, the fight hits the mat. If Fiziev gets tired in that 3rd, 4th, and 5th round and RDA gets on top, like RDA is very dangerous. We saw that in the Moicano fight. We saw it in the Kevin Lee fight. Plenty of fights. Like, this guy can go out there and get a submission, get a ground and pound victory. So I think there's some finish upside on both sides, factoring the analytics as well. That 72% finish rate for these main events, Weezy. I think that plus money is an absolute good look.
Yeah, absolutely, man. It's an analytics play, but when you have those benchmarks and you get those wide margins that fly in the face of those benchmarks, and you get a stylistic matchup where you can see finishes. I mean, Fiziev, great power. Rafael Dos Anjos, great conditioning, great grappling. This is live to finish, and to get it plus money, I'm going to have to go to the window for that one. Going to have to at least have a half unit on it, maybe a full unit.
Yeah, I might be getting on that myself, and I might be getting on a bet on RDA as well. Mushroom said minus 220 on someone who gasses in the 3rd. Yeah, I know, man. So against a guy that has cardio like RDA can push the pace, I agree. But Fiziev could absolutely knock this guy out. So it's a good fight. It's a great main event to cap off this banger card. I mean, Shevchenko, Courtney Casey, Calvillo, Nunes. We have Vanderaa, Sherman, Pickett, Tiuliulin, and then we cap it off with RDA, Rafael Fiziev, Weezy. So yeah, we did it. We went through all 12 fights. A couple people were asking in the chat about a couple other fights. The Moroz Eubanks fight got moved to a later date. Yeah. And then unfortunately, the David Oyama fight got canceled. I think they might be looking for a new opponent for David Oyama, which I hope so, because this card needs a little bit of help. But really would have liked to see that fight. So we were supposed to have 14. We are down to 12. And hopefully they take off the Vanderaa fight and that Tiuliulin fight. We're down to 10. I think that make the card much better there. But yeah, Weezy, any final thoughts on this card?
Yeah, there's some good fights, and I think the Dos Anjos Fiziev fight, the Borralho Petrosyan fight, the Andrade Nurmagomedov fight, the Johnson Mullarkey fight will be a lot of fun. Zahabi Turcios will be a fun fight. I like Brundage Gore, fun fight. And anytime Kennedy and Nzechukwu fights, it's very interesting. And they got him a really good partner, somebody that's not going to really try to take him down or hold him against the cage in Roberson. Expecting a lot of action there. And then, like I say, if Lawrence Kocharmonov doesn't get put a couple in front of a couple of these bum fights, I might have to do something dramatic. I don't know what, but this will not stand. So, but I'm happy to break down this card. How many guys are hanging out with us right now on Pub Sports Radio?
235 towards the end. So yeah, a lot
it's
of
incredible.
People hanging out.
Yeah, and on the weekend of the birthday of our beautiful country, Brady, for these people to be spending their Sunday night with us, it means so much. So yeah, can't wait to stack cash tickets like flapjacks on this card. Got a few good looks that I'm looking at after going through this with you today in the chat. Looking forward to this one, man.
Absolutely. And as you guys know, here at Pub Sports Radio, our goal is to hit 100 likes by the time we get out. And if we do not hit that 100 like mark, We actually have to show up with rat tails next show. But like Douglas Silva de Andrade. But luckily, you guys killed it with the likes. 141 towards the end. You guys rock. You guys are awesome. So appreciate that. Fortunately, me and Weezy do not have to show up with a rat tail next week. Thank goodness. Weezy, let the people know where they can find you, what you have going on throughout the week this week for some content.
Yeah, so you can find me right here on Pub Sports Radio for Stat Diggers every week, every Wednesday for the DFS show, and every Saturday for the Watch Along with Boston Nick and the boys. And you can also find me on my channel, Uncle Weezy, on YouTube, where I break down on every Tuesday night, 10 o'clock Central Time, give you just the tip with Uncle Weezy, which is we break down the full card, give you a greasy four-leg parlay, and finish with Uncle Weezy's ass shaving of the week. And you can also find me on the MMA Engine YouTube channel. On Tuesday, we'll be doing a main event deep dive here for the Fiziev Dos Anjos fight with Brady. And we also do probability every Thursday night, 7:15 Central Time. Hit the probability parlay this week, even though one of the legs came so close to cashing, but then there was an eye poke. We needed the fight to start round 3 for the O'Malley fight. That did not happen, so it turned our plus 200 parlay into a minus 150, unfortunately. But, we still cashed it. So check out probability for a good data-driven look at all the time props on the UFC Vegas 58 card. And the only thing we have left to do after watching all those programs, Brady, is to stack cash tickets like flapjacks for UFC Vegas 58.
100% cannot wait for this card. You guys can follow me on Twitter, DFS_numbers, Instagram, DFS by the numbers. My full card breakdown video should be out either tomorrow or early Tuesday there. And then back here on Pub Sports Wednesday for the DraftKings show. Check us out on MMA Engine. Tuesday for the main event deep dive, Thursday for probability, and then Friday for my Friday show on the MMA Engine final thoughts video. And then back on my channel on Saturday for Best Bet with me, Uncle Weezy, Narco Cop, and then Eric Betts fights. Leave a like on the way out, subscribe, all the good stuff. Best of luck for UFC Vegas 58. We'll talk to you guys soon. See ya.